Chapter 1409. The core disciples of the 4 true grade sects were the favorites to win this great meet of the academies. However, 3 of them had already been defeated by Lu Qianqian, Xiao Ziji and Su Xiaomo. There was no need to talk about the process, because all of them were crushed. Therefore, Cui Wuqing and Yi Xingchen's battle was not only to advance to the next round, but also to defend the dignity of the true grade sects. Senior apprentice brother win. Senior apprentice brother, win. Before the contestants from both sides stepped onto the stage, the disciples of the Severing Emotions True Sect shouted loudly. Because of the strong performance of the martial artists, they also shouted, Cui Wuqing, hold on. Cui Wuqing, hold on. They were shouting for the weak, hoping for a miracle to happen. Humph. Yi Xingchen sneered and stepped forward to the front of the battle ring. Cui Wuqing also stepped forward, but his face did not have the slightest emotion as he said, although you are strong, I am not weak either. Trash. After 2 years of experience, Yi Xingchen found the feeling of looking down on the heroes of the past. As for the previous abuse by Sun Mucheng, sorry, that was on Yo, not Knight Emperor. Match start. The referee shouted. Huff. Huff huff huff. As soon as the voice fell, Cui Wuqing waved his hand, and a majestic energy without any emotion suddenly emerged from his body. The 3 emotions void power. Tisk tsk. So young yet so strong. This child will definitely be heavily cultivated by the Severing Emotions True Sect in the future. I wonder what 3 emotions he has severed. Everyone started to talk about it. The Severing Emotions True Sect was a relatively special sect in the upper realm, because everyone who entered had to sever the 7 emotions. And the power they gathered was also known as the power of nothingness. Similar to this sect was the Severing Emotions True Sect, whose purpose was to sever the 6 desires. What were the 7 emotions and 6 desires? Go check it out yourself, too lazy to explain. Cui Wuqing was accepted by the Severing Emotions True Sect from an early age. The word Wuqing was bestowed by the patriarch, meaning that one could truly be without any emotions. To be given a name by the patriarch meant that he had great potential. Sure enough, he lived up to everyone's expectations. At the age of 15, he severed happiness, at the age of 20, and at the age of 23, breaking the record for the fastest person to sever the 3 emotions. Cui Wuqing's cultivation and strength would increase every time he severed one love. But this was not the main point. The main point was that he had successfully transformed from a lively youth into a stoic face. Of course, he had only killed 3 of them. If the other 4 were beheaded, they would become even more ruthless. They would continue to have facial paralysis, even if Mount Tai collapsed in front of them. Take now as an example, every time Cui Wuqing was in the camera, he always had an emotionless expression, as if everyone owed him money. Interesting. Yi Xingchen's lips curled into a smile. His previous opponents were too weak, so he could use this sour face as a warm-up. Shwa! At that moment, Cui Wuqing moved. The chi of the 3 nothingness exploded out, turning into palm prints that pressed down from all directions. The commotion created was the greatest out of all the competitors. In this battle, he had to be serious. Ha ha. Ha ha ha. Just as the palm print was about to press down, the audience closest to the stage suddenly laughed. Then they gradually became angry, and finally they were filled with worry. Be careful, someone exclaimed. The power of 3 emotions can wreak havoc on the mind and soul. Everyone activated their mental cultivation method to resist. Fortunately, the distance was far enough, and the spreading aura was relatively weak, so it could be suppressed very well. However, the power of 3 emotions gathered on the stage was very dense. Could that disciple called Yi Xingchen resist? Boom! Boom! At this moment the palm print pressed down. Yi Xingchen still stood in place, allowing the power of various emotions to enter his body. Cui Wuqing frowned and said, "Why didn't you dodge?" "Too weak." Yi Xingchen said indifferently. Cui Wuqing did not show any anger, because this emotion had already been cut off, and said, "What I used just now was the 3 emotions soul-shattering palm. As long as it comes into contact with the body, it will seep into the sea of consciousness and soul, bringing endless pain." Shwa! Yi Xingchen suddenly appeared in front of him and said, "Is there the pain of death? So fast." Whoosh! A fist blasted over, and a cold voice was heard. "Don't talk about pain if you haven't experienced death." Boom! The seemingly simple punch made it difficult for Cui Wuqing to avoid it. He firmly resisted it with his abdomen, and then his whole body bent over, with his eyes bulging. Yi Xingchen raised his hand and pressed it on his forehead, and his whole body fell back with a plop sound. "Fuck Wuqing," Jun Changxiao blurted out. The martial artists in the spectator seats were silent. The true sect still could not hold on to their last dignity, and even lost more miserably than the previous three. Sect of all times Yi Xingchen advances to the next round. Hearing the referee's announcement, Jun Changxiao turned to the Severing Emotions True Sect's upper echelon and cupped his hands. "Thank you for letting me win." Because this guy was a disciple of Zhenren Tonggu, one of the upper echelon smiled and said, "Your sect's disciple is strong, really admirable." He was obviously angry, but he still pretended to be happy. Cui Wuqing was carried off the stage, and the competition continued. At this moment, there were still 8 contestants left on the stage, 5 of which were disciples of the sect of all times. The remaining 3 brothers suddenly trembled. They were not the favorites to win the championship, and were only able to reach this point by luck. Luck was the key. For example, a profound sect's contestant was not matched with a sect of all times, and successfully reached the top 4. Xiao Ziji and Li Qingyang met, and the latter, as the second senior brother, staggered out of the ring. Su Xiaoma and Lu Qianqian's fight had just begun, when the latter took the initiative to jump off the stage. Yi Xingchen's opponent was weaker than Cui Wuqing, so he easily defeated him. Therefore, there were only 4 people left on the stage, and the situation was that the 3 core disciples of the sect of all times surrounded a profound sect's contestant. As long as this brother won 2 rounds in a row, he would win the championship, and even become a legend. However, this was simply too difficult. Yi Xingchen versus Dou Luomeng. Xiao Ziji versus Su Xiaoma. It's over. The contestant named Dou Luomeng instantly despaired. If he met the other 2, even if he lost, he would still be able to maintain his dignity. But if he met this guy with the demonic aura, he could only pray that he would be bedridden for a few days less. Because the other party was too weak, and because Xiao Zuiji and Su Xiaoma had been holding back the entire time, the process was not described in detail. In the end, Yi Xingchen was the champion of the intersect tournament. It could be said that, from the beginning to the end, this sect tournament was completely on Yo's stage. At the award ceremony, Jun Changxiao put the 500 kilograms of blood sun flame cloud rock, 2 secret manuals, and 1,000,000 profound stones into his spatial ring, and grinned. "City Lord Tao, is this sect tournament held once a year?" Everyone's mouth twitched. They could tell that if it was held once a year, the sect of all times would probably participate every time. City Lord Tao said awkwardly, "Once every 5 years. Oh. A trace of disappointment appeared on Jun Changxiao's face, and then he cupped his hands and said, "Goodbye. Goodbye." Under everyone's gaze, Go Sheng and his 5 disciples swaggered out of the venue. On the way back, they happened to meet a group of people from the Severing Emotions True Sect. So he looked at Cui Wuqing and said, "People are not plants. How can they be emotionless? If you have time, come to the sect of all times. This one will teach you the way of emotions." Jun Patriarch, one of the higher-ups, couldn't help but coldly said, "Trying to poach someone in front of them, that's a bit too much." Jun Changxiao smiled and said, "I'm just joking, don't take it seriously." After that he left with his disciples. Cui Wuqing pushed away his fellow disciples, clenched his fists and said, "Jun Patriarch, when I cut off the 7 emotions, I will visit the sect of all times. I'll wait for you." Ding! Disciple Yi Xingchen won the Grand Prestige Cities Sect Tournament. Disciples Xiao Ziji and Su Xiaoma won 2nd and 3rd place respectively, obtained 100 Sect Reputation Points. Ding! Sect Reputation Points, 100. Just as he walked out of the city, the system prompt sounded in his ears. Jun Changxiao couldn't help but shout, "I finally have reputation points." Chapter 1410. When Jun Changshao ascended and completed the second main mission, a new line of reputation points appeared on the system data panel. It had been more than 2 years, and he finally obtained 100 points today. As far as he knew, reputation points could be used to purchase system goods. For example, the Blade of Heaven piercing that was previously obtained required 500 reputation points to unlock the purchase. When Jun Changshao occasionally refreshed the store, he often saw goods with reputation points prefix. In the words of the system, equipment purchased with reputation points was better than equipment purchased with contribution points, in terms of effect and function. To put it bluntly, reputation points were used to replace the contribution point system that could collapse at any time. The lower realm used spirit stones, the upper realm used mystical stones. In terms of martial arts resources, it was understandable that the system replaced contribution points with reputation points. However, Jun Changshao was depressed. You should at least let me know how to obtain it, the system said. The disciple won the top 3 in the Intersect tournament and is rewarded with 100 Intersect reputation points. Isn't that obvious enough? Jun Changshao was speechless. You mean if I want to obtain reputation points, I can only participate in this boring Intersect tournament? Because the disciple crushed everything without any difficulty, Go Sheng was a little smug. Real legends are fought with fists. The system said. The host sleeps at home every day, and reputation points will automatically be delivered to your door? That was right. Reputation, the reputation that everyone looked up to. Because Li Qingyang and the others won the Intersect tournament and won respect and reputation, the system decided to reward them with 100 reputation points. If they did nothing, it would definitely not be given. Of course, I don't think that sleeping will give me reputation points. What I mean is, Jun Changshao said, at least give me some reputation points that are worth tens of thousands upon completion. Bah, the system said, in your dreams. The system could not be bothered with him, and continued on with the disciple. Patriarch. Su Xiaoma leaned over and grinned. Let's take the warship back. Get lost. Jun Changshao rolled his eyes at him and said, don't you have to pay to take a boat? Go Sheng was very generous when he was showing off, but if he were to use it for the entire journey, his heart would definitely ache for the crazily burning magnetite. After the Grand Sect tournament in Grand Might City ended, the news of the Sect of All Time's disciples taking the top 3 spots immediately spread in the surrounding areas, and caused quite a heated discussion. How can a newly arrived sect be so strong? It's said that the 5 disciples all have the strength of a first cycle reincarnation core stage practitioner. My God, this level of strength is qualified to participate in the 100 Sect Martial Arts Symposium. In the dining hall of an inn in a certain city, some martial artists were discussing. Jun Changshao, who was sitting nearby and eating with his disciples, immediately perked up his ears. Along the way, he had been thinking about how to earn more reputation points. When he suddenly heard that there was a grand event for the sect, he was instantly energized. Friends, Jun Changshao cupped his hands and asked, may I ask, when will the 100 Sect Martial Symposium be held? As long as the time and place were confirmed, he would definitely attend. Soon, that diner said, there's still 10 years. Jun Changshao almost fell and sat down. 100 years of main mission, waiting for the 100 Sect Martial Arts Symposium, would take up 1/10 of the time. What a joke! The system said. Actually, the host does not have to bring the disciples to compete to earn reputation points. Maybe there are other ways to earn reputation points. For example, find out for yourself, too lazy to explain. Fuck you. The system was right. He did not have to use his disciples as tools to compete in various sect competitions. As long as he increased the sect's reputation in the upper realm, he could still earn reputation points. But the problem was, how could he increase it? Sigh. Jun Changshao shook his head and said, when the boat reaches the bridge head, it will be straight. Let's take it one step at a time. 1 month later, he brought his disciples back to the Sect of All Times. This time, going back and forth to participate in the Sect tournament took half a year. It could be seen that in the situation where there was no transportation, the difficulty of traveling was still a big problem for the sect of all times. Huff huff. Just as Jun Changshao returned, a majestic heaven and earth attribute suddenly appeared on Dragon Head Peak, indicating that someone was about to break through. As the mountain where the patriarch lived, only 2 courtyards were occupied. One was Go Sheng, the other was Rows of Flowers, so it was obvious who was breaking through. Why is she breaking through again? In Jun Changxiao's understanding, this woman had just entered the void-piercing realm not long ago. The system was speechless. It's been 2 years, okay? No. Jun Changxiao's expression changed, and he said in shock, this is not breaking through to the middle level of the void-piercing realm. This is breaking through to the revolving core realm. 2 years ago, Rows of Flowers had just come to the upper realm and relied on the stronger heaven and earth attribute to enter the void-piercing realm. Now only 2 years had passed, and she was breaking through to the revolving core realm. This really surprised him. Li Qingyang, Xiao Ziji, and the others were able to break through because they went to various big clans to undergo difficult tempering. This woman did not obtain any opportunities, so how could she break through? Huff huff. At this moment, on Dragon Spine Peak where the upper echelons of the sect lived, a similar aura of advancement also appeared. From the evil aura, it was obviously Ding Xingwang. Jun Changxiao's eyes gradually widened, because from the aura, he could see that the other party was about to enter the upper level of the void-piercing realm from the middle level. When did old Ding enter the void-piercing realm? Just as Go Sheng was dumbfounded, on the peak where the disciples lived, more auras of advancement came one after another. Among them were Li Fei, Tian Qi, and other core disciples who were entering the middle level from the lower level. That's not right. Su Xiaoma was also surprised. Before going to participate in the Sect competition, junior brother Li and the others were only at the consummate level of Wu Sheng. So why are they suddenly advancing to the middle level of the void-piercing realm? Huff huff. Huff huff huff. The auras of advancement of various peaks emerged, and the entire sect of all times was shrouded in thick waves of air. The scene was quite shocking. At this moment, how could the sect's #1 photographer, Li Tiantian, be absent? But in the end, this kid was not here, because he was sitting in the room, concealing his spirit and chi to break through to the lower level of the void-piercing realm. What's going on? At this moment, Jun Changxiao saw Li Luoqiu, who had just walked out of the main hall. Just as he was about to ask, he found that the other party had reached the lower level of the void-piercing realm, and he said in surprise, "You also broke through? It's all thanks to the 2 secret manuals that the Patriarch placed earlier," Hall Master Li said with a smile. As soon as the words came out, Jun Changxiao remembered that before he brought the core disciples to participate in the Sect competition, he placed 2 high-grade secret realms and a molding room at the back of the mountain, so he said happily, "The effect is so good?" "Very good. That's great." In this half a year, whether it was the Sect's upper echelons or the disciples, their strength had greatly improved, especially the high-grade secret realms of spacetime, which sped up time by 100 times, had 10 times the attribute bonus, and cultivated for 10 days every month. After a few months, it was definitely comparable to decades of cultivation. Rows of Flowers had relied on these 2 secret realms to go from being infinitely close to the middle level to entering the first transformation of the core realm. Although Ding Xingwang, Gongsun Haohai, and the other upper echelons of the sect, in terms of aptitude, couldn't compare to the Soul Race Empress who had fought all over the world. They still broke through consecutively in half a year and entered the upper level of the void-piercing realm. "Look," the system said. "I didn't say anything wrong." Previously, it had said that if the host had bought this secret realm 2 years earlier, the sect would definitely have all martial emperors. Judging from the half a year's time, not only was it right, but it was also a little too young. I am not a poison healer. Ding. Reputation mission activated. Chapter 14:11. After Jun Changxiao roughly understood the channels to obtain reputation points, he thought that if he were to give a reputation mission and earn 8 to 10,000, he wouldn't need to bring his disciples to compete anymore. In the end, He was spat on by the system, and even mocked with wishful thinking. And in the end, poison healer face slapping. This moment might be late, but it would never be absent. After hearing that the reputation mission had been triggered, Jun Changxiao couldn't help but imitate Fan Wei's tone and said, "Thank you. If the system had a real body, its face would have been covered in tears. It was too difficult. It was too difficult for me." Shwa. Jun Changxiao opened the mission panel and clicked on the reputation mission that was categorized as a side quest. The content that appeared was vigorously develop the sect's industry and make it the symbol of the sect. That's all. Seeing only 2 short lines of words, Jun Changxiao was stunned. At least the side quest had a value that could be measured. Vigorously developing the sect's industry was nothing. Moreover, what did this have to do with the sect's reputation? A sect cannot lack its industry. The strength of the industry is naturally related to the sect's reputation. The system said, for example, the ancient alchemy pharmacy. If you develop it, there will be chain stores in all the major cities in the upper realm. As long as you mention it, you will immediately think of the sect of all times. So that's how it is. Pa. Jun Changxiao snapped his fingers and said, "Understood. The reputation mission is for me to develop the alchemy pharmacy. I'm just using it as an analogy. Your analogy is right. It allowed me to grasp the key point." He said that he would let him explore, and he was too lazy to explain. In the end, he still inadvertently provided help. "What's wrong?" Jun Changxiao said. "You're here to assist me, and you're still wronged by providing me with help. If I could do it all over again, I would definitely not be willing to assist a stingy, shameless, and scumbag host. Damn. Do you think I'm very happy to have a man nagging and complaining in my ear all day long? Why do you think I'm in the way? Of course. Fuck off. Fuck you." Jun Changxiao and the system began their daily PDA mode. In the distance, Su Xiaomo whispered, "Second senior brother. The patriarch is talking to himself again." "Calm down," Li Qingyang said calmly. The patriarch's behavior of forgetting to take his medicine had happened many times, and he had long gotten used to it. In fact, he would even find it strange if he didn't do it on a certain day. Yes, after becoming a martial emperor, the patriarch seemed to have lost his soul for a period of time. Actually, even if the system didn't mention it, Jun Changxiao could also think of the elixir store. After all, the sect only had one business at the moment. Over the past 2 years, the business of the elixir store had been booming day by day. It was the largest source of funds for the sect of all times, but its scale remained stagnant. Now that there was a reputation mission, Jun Changxiao began to think about how to expand his business and develop more industries, so that the brand Aeon could walk out of Lin Yuan City and into the world. For this reason, he called Yuan Gongzi and Feng Guichen back to the sect for a discussion. One of them was in charge of the elixir store, while the other was in charge of elixir refining. Their cooperation was quite good. Patriarch Feng Guichen shook his head and said, "We don't have enough elixir refining talents, so it's difficult to open more branches." Jun Changxiao was a typical hot-headed person who started doing things without thinking. Little did he know that the business of the Aeon elixir store was getting better and better, and the demand for elixir refining was increasing. It was obvious that the elixir store couldn't keep up with the pace. Sun Bukong and the others can't elixir refining yet? They can, but with the current sales of the elixir store, they can only support one store. If they open stores in other cities, they will definitely be too busy. Jun Changxiao was silent. It seemed that he had thought too simply of the matter. Wait a minute. Too busy? Jun Changxiao slapped his forehead and said, "I forgot about the Great Thousand Shadows art. 2 years ago, when he went to Lingfeng Mountain to participate in the sect's big boss meeting, he completed the side mission and was rewarded with a secret manual. Later, for various reasons, it was forgotten by Go Sheng. Fortunately, Feng Guichen was one step ahead of the reader and reminded him. Merging it into his space ring, Yang Kai took out the 2.5 years' worth of practice book and carefully read it. From the name, it should be related to movement techniques, but when Jun Changxiao read the first page, he realized that it was a martial art related to cloning. There was no need to say much about cloning, as Sheng had encountered it before when he fought with others. However, this great Thousand Shadows art was a bit mysterious. After cultivating it, one could condense a shadow similar to oneself, and at the same time, duplicate the aptitude, martial arts, and skills of the original body, and then cultivate on its own. To put it bluntly, it was condensing a clone. There was no need to cultivate, and it could even travel around and play. It would help you settle things, and then transmit the obtained experience to the original body. Holy shit! Jun Changxiao blurted out. This is a bit amazing. The system muttered. Such a powerful martial art would be worth at least 1 million in the shop, but it is actually a side quest reward. It's a bit unbelievable. Sheng continued to read, and the more he read, the more excited he became. Because the record said that this martial art was not suitable for actual combat, but as long as one could condense a clone, it could speed up one's martial arts cultivation, and even control the clone to use in alchemy, forging, and so on. In short, it was not responsible for fighting, only for logistics. Ha ha ha. Jun Changxiao slapped his thigh and laughed. He was just worrying about the lack of manpower. And now there was a martial art that could condense a clone to help with alchemy. It was no different from sending charcoal in snowy weather. Yuan Gongzi, who was sitting next to him, grimaced, because the patriarch had suddenly burst into laughter, and then raised his hand and slapped his thigh crazily. The strength he used could be described in one word: extremely painful. Patriarch. Feng Guichen couldn't help but ask, "Did you remember something happy?" Only then did Jun Changxiao return to his senses from his wild laughter. Then he said in all seriousness, "Where was I just now?" "Opening a branch. And it's decided then. After a while, old Yuan will go to other cities to inspect and look for a good location for shops." "Patriarch, we don't have enough manpower." "Manpower is not a big problem. This king will find a way to solve it." The meeting ended. Feng Guichen walked out of the main hall and collapsed. "Old Yuan, our immemorial pill store is a high-end business. If the patriarch wants to open a branch, is he going to find a group of low-level alchemists to make up the numbers?" "He won't," Yuan Gongzi said seriously. "With my understanding of the patriarch, as long as there is a way, it will definitely be the best." Feng Guichen was still muttering in his heart. The main reason was that he had entered the sect late, and Sheng had gone out to experience the world for 2 years, so he hadn't come into contact with the rules of the sect. If it was the imagination trio, as long as the patriarch said there was a way, there would definitely be a way. The next day, the two were preparing to set off for Linyuan City, when they were called to the main hall by Jun Changxiao, who threw them 2 secret manuals and said, "You can cultivate in between running a business and refining pills." "Many thanks, Patriarch." Yuan Gongzi happily received them. Feng Guichen also accepted the secret manuals, but his heart was unperturbed, because he was obsessed with alchemy and didn't have much interest in the martial Tao. However, on the way back to Linyuan City, he saw that young Master Yuan was so engrossed in his research that his eyes were shining. Thus, out of curiosity, he flipped open the secret manual called the Major Thousand Shadows Art. When he finished reading the contents, he immediately revealed his uncultured side. Holy shit! Chapter 14:12. In the space-time secret realm, Jun Changxiao sat cross-legged like an old monk. At this moment, his sea of consciousness was filled with the mantra. Sometimes it was scattered, and sometimes it was gathered together. Phew! After a long time, Jun Changxiao's body gradually gathered light. Understood! He opened his eyes, and a look of realization flashed across his eyes. Under the time acceleration, Jun Changxiao had been studying the Deqian shadow art. Today he finally made substantial progress. Swish! He got up and put his fists in front of his waist. Phew! Under the Deqian shadow art's mantra, waves of air suddenly appeared around his body, and then gradually condensed into a figure beside him. Whether it was the head or the shape, it was extremely similar to Jun Changxiao, as if it was carved from the same mold. However, it was more illusory, as it was only a shadow. It was different from the clones in Naruto, so please don't try to imagine it. Don't underestimate this shadow. It could cultivate martial arts, comprehend martial arts, and condense heaven and earth attributes to benefit the original body. If one had to find a comparison, it was similar to a life contract. However, the shadow clone could do more than just cultivation. It could also comprehend alchemy, medicine, and other sub-professions. It could even be used to refine elixirs and equipment. It was a versatile little helper at home. Sit down. Jun Changshao ordered. Number 1 Go Sheng's shadow clone sat down. Why was it called number 1? Because according to the secret manual, as long as one comprehended the Deqian shadow art to a higher level, one could condense 2, 3, or even more. The secret manual was a system reward and belonged to the store. Jun Changshao couldn't rely on the insight talisman to cheat. Hence, he could only comprehend the first level and barely condense a shadow. Swish. Sitting cross-legged, the original body and the shadow clone started to comprehend at the same time. About half an hour later, Jun Changshao said happily, "The two of us cultivating together is so fast." Nonsense. The system said, if you can condense 10,000 shadows, the cultivation speed will definitely be 10,000 times faster than usual. I'm not that greedy, Jun Changshao said. I'll be satisfied if I condense 8 or 10. The Great Thousand Shadows art was not only given to Yuan Feng and Feng Guichun, but also to the other sect disciples, all of whom were actively comprehending it at this moment. The most excited person was Yi Xingchen. This was because this kind of martial art that could help him cultivate faster was what he needed the most right now. As long as I can condense a doppelganger, my cultivation speed will only be faster. With the natal contract beast and the help of the Deqian shadow art, Anya was full of expectations for the future. This is amazing. This is amazing. He Wudi, who was also in the space-time secret realm, looked at the doppelganger that resembled him, and the shock in his heart grew stronger and stronger. He had seen doppelganger-type martial techniques before, and he had even cultivated them before. However, most of them were used for battle and to confuse the enemy. This was the first time he had seen a method that could directly help him cultivate. Patriarch, he Wudi thought to himself, how many good things did Senior Qishuan give you? Two of the imagination trio were shocked by the Deqian shadow art. Naturally, the Purple King was also present. At this moment, it was sitting cross-legged in the room, scratching its ears and cheeks. This is too difficult. The demonic beasts could not learn the martial arts of humans. Furthermore, the demonic beasts did not even need to cultivate. They could become stronger just by breathing. However, the martial arts manual that Jun Changshao obtained had a note stating that any living being with self-awareness could cultivate it. As a result, in the entire sect, except for the beast race who could not speak, everyone was given the Deqian shadow art and forced to cultivate it. Beasts who had never been good at thinking might find it difficult to cultivate, but as long as they could condense a doppelganger, it would definitely bring huge benefits. In fact, at present the medical hall and the pill hall had benefited the most, because after Sun Bukong and the others comprehended one after another, they could often see the original body and the doppelganger in the medicine field responsible for planting herbs. In the past, one person did one job. Now, one person did 2 jobs. Patriarch, Elder Wei, who was standing at the top of the mountain, looked at the disciples controlling the doppelganger to plant and prune in an orderly manner, and exclaimed, "In this way, the efficiency of planting will increase by 2 times. Jun Changshao said, 2 times is too little. In the future it will be 4 times, 10 times, or even more. It was not a big problem. As long as the disciples comprehended more doppelganger, it would not be a problem for one person to do 3 or 4 jobs. 997 was no longer enough to satisfy Gosheng. He wanted the disciples to do it. If they were too busy, they could only use doppelganger. Zhou Bapi, however, instead of feeling tired, Sun Bukong and the others were very excited, because the doppelganger could not only be used for planting, but also for cultivating the Tao of alchemy. Their understanding and refining would definitely improve by leaps and bounds. The one who had the most experience in this aspect was Feng Guichun. After returning to Lin Yuan City, he comprehended the Deqian shadow art and sat in a rocking chair drinking tea and basking in the sun. The alchemy work was handed over to the doppelganger. The doppelganger had no combat power, but it had inherited the advantages of its master. Whether it was cultivation or alchemy, it was no different from the original body doing it. Pa. At the counter, Yuan Gongzi skillfully used the abacus to calculate the sales of today's pills, and the doppelganger held a pen to record the inventory of pills. It was as if one person could do two things. Zhen Dejuan and Shengguan Xingyao also discovered this wonderful use. The two of them did not use the doppelganger for cultivation, but used it to comprehend arrays. It was equivalent to using one head to do two things. Ha ha ha. Ha 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 ha. The Taishan old man sitting cross-legged in the room laughed loudly. After cultivating the Deqian shadow art and condensing doppelganger, the two heads thought together and finally came up with a way to improve Bamboo Mountain No. 1. If he had known that this guy had powerful cultivation facilities and powerful mental cultivation methods in his sect, he would have taken all the blame, even if he had to secretly go to the mortal world. A certain reader had once complained that Jun Changshao did not care about his life, and even described him as unbearable. But in fact, as long as one joined the sect of all times, the benefits were far greater than taking the blame. Shua! Shua! On a mountain peak, Zhou Hong quickly pulled out his sword and sheathed it. His doppelganger did the same, and his eyes suddenly shone with understanding. As one of the few sword geniuses in the sect, he had almost never experienced the benefits of cultivation facilities, but the Deqian shadow art was an exception, because it could help him comprehend sword Dao faster. The entire sect of all time set off a craze to cultivate the Deqian shadow art. Although some disciples had not yet comprehended it, it was only a matter of time. And in the future, everyone was destined to cultivate and comprehend twice as much. Let me ask you, isn't it scary? Hall Master Feng. After a while, Jun Changshao came to Linyuan City and said, Sun Bukong and the others have all condensed doppelganger. They are the best in alchemy. Can we open a branch now? Yes, we can, Feng Guichen said, but we can only open one. It's not a big problem. Jun Changshao took a sip of tea and asked, This king heard that there are 7 chief alchemists in the alchemy hall, and all of them are experts in alchemy. That's right. Feng Guichen nodded. Jun Changshao said, Are they usually in the alchemy hall? This king wants to pay them a visit and ask if they are interested in joining the sect of all times. Ah, Feng Guichen's eyes widened. Oh right. Jun Changshao slapped his forehead and said, Since the alchemy hall is an authoritative organization in alchemy, there should be many alchemy grandmasters. If we recruit them, we should be able to open more branches. The expression on Feng Guichen's face became more and more interesting. As a patriarch, I'm thinking too much. Alchemy Hall headquarters. Everyone. An old man in a long robe sitting at the head of the table frowned and said, I don't know why, but my left eyelid has been twitching recently. Left eyelid twitching brings fortune, right eyelid twitching brings disaster. An old man said with a smile, This is a good thing. Chapter 14-13. Jun Changshao wanted to complete the prestige mission, so he had to develop some businesses. Currently, he only had one business, the pill store, so he could only think of ways to increase his influence. Pill Hall, an authoritative organization focused on alchemy. If he could establish a close cooperative relationship with this organization, it should be able to improve the reputation of the sect. Feng Guichen said seriously, The 7 chief alchemists all work part-time in the major sects. If the patriarch recruits them, it will definitely cause strong dissatisfaction. It doesn't matter. Jun Changshao said, I have a backer. If Jimren Tonggu heard this, he would probably vomit blood on the spot. Of course, Jun Changshao was just speaking casually. If he really wanted to recruit the 7 chief alchemists, he would definitely need to plan carefully, so that the major sects wouldn't be able to find fault with it. Patriarch, Yuan Gongzi suggested. In the past 2 years, our production of medicinal herbs has been increasing day by day. Why not open a medicinal herb store in Linyuan City? Medicinal herbs were not as profitable as pills. However, Ordinary seeds planted in the sect's medicinal fields could produce heaven and earth treasures, so they could also make a lot of money by selling them. What's more, in the past 2 years, because of the lack of alchemy talents, the refining of pills had been slow, so the sect had accumulated a lot of medicinal herbs. Selling some of them for real money was not a bad idea. Okay, Jun Changshao approved. It was necessary for the sect to diversify its businesses. In the future, they might try to expand into real estate, the internet, cars, airplanes, aviation, and other fields. The system was speechless. Does the host want to change this fantasy world into a modern world? If my strength allows, please don't lead this new world astray. Again? That's right. The falling star continent had been led astray by Gosheng. A long time ago, there had been a huge change in the way people dressed. All kinds of fancy, avant-garde, and trendy styles had been produced one after another. When friends met, they would call each other old friends. Hall Master Feng, Jun Changshao asked. Where is the pill hall? Central Territory. Feng Guichen muttered in his heart. Is the patriarch really going to the pill hall to recruit all the alchemy grandmasters? If we go now, how long will it take? Jun Changshao asked. Feng Guichen estimated for a moment and said, if a revolving core realm cultivator were to use a normal flying artifact, it would take at least half a year. Jun Changshao broke down and said, isn't that a little too far? He had originally planned to make a trip there, but he immediately backed out. No, Jun Changshao said, traveling is a big problem. We have to think of a way to solve it. After reaching the revolving core realm, a martial artist would have the ability to fly. But the upper realms was simply far too large. If they wanted to travel far away, they would definitely choose a flying treasure. Flying treasures were also divided into different grades. When a person first came to the upper realm, although the flying sword given by the sword mystic faction was not bad, its grade was too low. It was only suitable for short trips, not long ones. Is it a gift? The system roared. You were the one who stole it. Are there any flying treasures in the shop? Jun Changshao asked. The system immediately turned into a qualified salesman and said, as long as the host refreshes, we have space rockets. Jun Changshao fell into deep thought. Forget it, forget it. After a while, he shook his head and said, although there are many good things in the shop that I want to buy and am reluctant to refresh, I still have to solve the fundamental problem first. Swoosh. He opened the shop. VIP user. In the upper left corner of the panel was gray. This meant that the user had recharged before, but the service was suspended because the user did not renew. Jun Changshao began to refresh. After using up all 5 free times, he did not get the item he wanted. Recharge. The system said, you can refresh 5 more times. Ding. Recharge successful. Congratulations to the host for becoming a monthly VIP user. The monthly refresh rate has increased from 5 to 10. Ding! Sect contribution points, 250000. VIP user, in the upper left corner of the panel suddenly shone brightly, as if it was emitting a strong power of spending money. Swoosh! He refreshed again, and a pleasant surprise came. In the second grid of the second row of the inventory, the name of the item was written Rainbow Dazzling Light Wings Formula. After 5 free refreshes, he did not see anything. After becoming a VIP user, the first refresh appeared. Haha. Jun Changshao laughed dryly and said, this is the real world. Gosheng could only strongly despise the behavior of not giving out good items without spending money, but he still bought it for 100,000 contribution points. The Rainbow Dazzling Light Wings was an equipment type, so it was automatically matched with the Forging Pavilion. He opened the introduction. Jun Changshao was overjoyed. From the name, it could be seen that this item was similar to the Iron Wings, a flying treasure. But its performance was relatively simple. It only provided flight, and did not have defensive or offensive power. However, the advantage was that it was not bound by the heavens and earth. It could fly very fast, and was a good helper for traveling and killing people. The materials did not require any ores. One only needed to prepare a small amount of bird feathers and crystal cores to refine it. Bird feathers. Jun Changshao rubbed his chin and thought, what shall Maxians do? The little girl in the sect of all times, who was originally bored without the little dragon, suddenly shivered. Jun Changxiao did not stay in the pill store for too long. On the same day, he left for the sect of all times. As for opening the medicine store, he gave full authority to Yuan Gongzi. Old Yuan was in charge of the business, and the Rose of Flowers was in charge of the internal affairs of the sect. After the sect ascended to the higher realms, his role as the patriarch was a bit redundant. Yuan Gongzi was also a swift and decisive person. On the same day, he went to the city lord mansion to find Lu Deshui to discuss the store. In fact, in the early years, he had said that the sect had plans to open a medicine store. Because of this, they were exempt from taxes. So when city lord Lu learned of this, he immediately expressed his support and said, Yuan Gongzi can choose any store in the city. Thank you. Several days later, several stores adjacent to the pill store began to be renovated. Ancient medicine store? Everyone occasionally passed by. When they saw the plaque hanging above, they were puzzled. Didn't they need herbs to operate the pill store? Why would they sell them? The various large families that cooperated with them were depressed after learning of this. If they started selling herbs, what should they do? Everyone, don't worry. Yuan Gongzi found a time to invite the relevant people of the various large families over. He smiled and said, Our business will not be interrupted. Jun Changxiao's meaning was that ordinary herbs would be used to refine pills in the pill store. As for the heavenly materials and earthly treasures, they would be sold to accumulate more resources. Little girl. After returning to the sect, Jun Changxiao found Xiao Maxian. Are you thinking of little Long Long again? Humph. The little girl coldly snorted. I don't miss that annoying fellow. I wonder how little Long Long is doing in the dragon clan. Has his strength increased? Jun Changxiao asked. Master, Xiao Maxian said. Do you need something from me? In truth, it's nothing. I just want to borrow some feathers. Jun Changxiao said. Xiao Maxian transformed into her true form of the Demon Ridge Black Hawk. She gently waved her wings and feathers fell to the ground. Is that enough? It's enough, it's enough. Jun Changxiao received the feathers into his spatial ring. Then he opened the forging pavilion and discovered that it actually matched. He happily said, The materials needed to refine the rainbow light wings are too simple. Pass the ball. Hurry and pass the ball. On the martial arts field, Su Xiaoma, Li Fei, and the others were playing soccer. At the goal, Sun Muching was shivering. Whoosh! Suddenly, a beam of light flew out from Dragon Head Peak, dragging behind it a rainbow light. Everyone's eyes widened in shock. Poochie! Poochie! The light gradually weakened. Jun Changxiao floated in the air above the main hall. Behind him, a pair of dazzling wings flapped rhythmically. His entire being emitted a luxurious aura that could only be found in a game. Chapter 14:14. Although the materials used to refine the rainbow dazzling light wings were simple, after wearing it, it was gorgeous and luxurious to the extreme. Moreover, it was filled with the aura of money. If this was paired with the dragon-slaying saber, then when going out to hunt monsters, every strike would be a critical hit, and the equipment would explode. Of course, looking good was just a facade. Having a good effect was a real facade. In order to test his speed, Jun Changxiao flapped his wings and flew out of the sect. He circled around the timeless immortal mountains several times. Thus, what appeared in the distance was a beautiful rainbow light that lingered around the entire mountain range. The speed was good. It was much faster than relying on flight. But, as long as he left behind a rainbow light as he flew, wouldn't that provide clues if he was chased down by others? In truth, Jun Changxiao wanted to show off during his first test flight. As long as he communicated with the rainbow dazzling light wings, he wouldn't leave behind a rainbow afterimage as he flew. He could even block out the sound of the wings flapping and achieve complete silence. Not bad, not bad. Landing on the martial stage, a satisfied smile appeared on Go Sheng's face. The rainbow dazzling light wings flying speed wasn't too exaggerated, but it was at least much faster than the flying swords of the flying mystic faction. It was very suitable for traveling and could be given to disciples, truly saving energy and protecting the environment. Mass production. Jun Changxiao made a decision. He looked for Xiao Maxian and said, "Girl, lend me some more feathers." Xiao Maxian transformed into her true form once more. After shaking out a pile of feathers, she said, "Is this enough?" "Not enough." "Ah." Because of the upgrade of the forging pavilion, refining the rainbow dazzling light wings was extremely fast. In a short period of time, refining 100,000 wasn't a problem at all. But there weren't enough materials. Xiao Maxian had contributed most of her feathers, and only managed to refine 50 to 60 of them. Although this didn't affect her human form, she still couldn't just catch one. Jun Changshao also realized this. Thus, he looked for the Purple King, and had him call out all the birds in the mountains, and gather their feathers one by one. What a pity! The feathers of other birds couldn't be used for refining. Strange. Jun Changshao rubbed his chin. Although Xiao Maxian is stronger than them, it isn't by much. Why is it that she can do it, but not the others? It's simple. The system said. None of the main characters' contracted beasts are ordinary. Maybe it has some special bloodline like Little Long Long. Jun Changshao rolled his eyes and said, "Are you mocking me on purpose?" "No." The system said. "I'm just spitting out the thoughts of the readers who are familiar with the plot." Jun Changshao couldn't be bothered with him. "Lass, give me some more feathers." Xiao Maxian collapsed. "Master, I'm about to turn into a vulture." "Not a big problem." Jun Changshao held up an item in his hand, and looked at the screen with a smile. Eternal Brand Hair Growth Agent, passed down through the ages. Not only can it treat hair loss, it can also treat hair loss. If you're interested in collaborating with me, please come to my place for a face-to-face discussion, and a long night of sleepless nights. That was right. The magic-modified hair growth agent could not only increase hair, but it could also increase feathers. Xiao Maxian, who was no longer able to help her master in battle, once again displayed her value. She continued to grow fur, plucking fur, providing refining materials for him. This was in accordance with Go Sheng's words. The sect of all times did not eat for free. Pairs of rainbow-colored dazzling wings were made and distributed to the sect disciples. In a few short days, the eternal immortal mountain was filled with rainbow lights, weaving together into a beautiful scene. The feeling of flying again is so good. After Li Fei, Seven Fields, and the others tried flying, their faces were filled with excitement. They hadn't reached the revolving core realm, so they couldn't fly freely. Now that rainbow light wings appeared, this problem was perfectly solved. Moreover, this type of flying treasure was not weak. Its speed was not inferior to a third or fifth revolution powerhouses. What did this mean? It meant that even if a disciple encountered trouble outside, they would have the opportunity to escape, and the other party would be unable to catch up. Patriarch Li Luochio received a new batch of rainbow light wings and smiled. With this type of flying treasure, my Drizzle Hall will be able to gather and pass on information much faster. Yes, the popularization of the rainbow dazzling light wings would bring greater convenience to the sect. Actually, in the upper realm, every sect could not do without flying treasures. For example, the flying sword of the Flying Sword Mystic Sect and the flying dagger of the Highblade Mystic Sect had gradually evolved into the symbol of the sect. Rainbow lights and beautiful special effects. This type of flying treasure that only the rich had would definitely become the symbol of the sect of all times in the future. Disciples, listen up. One day, Jun Changshao hung proudly above the main hall and said, "Follow me to conquer the sea of stars." Swoosh, 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 swoosh. The disciples, led by Li Qingyang and Xiao Zuiji, flew up from the training field, dragging streams of light behind them. Then, they flapped their wings and hovered in midair. The colorful light embellished the surroundings, making them look exceptionally magnificent. At this moment, it gave people the feeling that they were in a large guild formed by rich players in a game, wearing super luxurious equipment and purposely posing for photos. Smack! Smack! Li Tiantian controlled his wings to fly east and west, taking photos from all angles. No. Jun Changshao shook his head and said, "We still lack mounts." There were 3 main criteria for a guild in the game to pose for photos. The number of people, the equipment must be awesome, and the mount must be flashy. Incubate the eggs. Jun Changshao said. Continue incubating the eggs. In these 2 years, the pill shop had brought in a lot of profit to the sect, and Go Sheng was not lacking in money. Ding! Incubation begins. Ding! Giant crab egg incubated successfully, automatically signing a contract with disciple Li Fei. Ding! Crayfish egg incubated successfully, automatically signing a contract with disciple Tian Qi. Ding! Jun Changshao incubated 10 eggs in one go, matching them with Long Xiang, Yang Yuhua, Song Xianzhou, and the others. However, Li Fei and Tian Qi's eggs were more unique. One looked like a crab, and the other looked like a crayfish. Because they were bigger in size, it was easy to arouse one's appetite. Senior brother, Lu Wancher took out the Chinese cookbook and said, "If you guys don't like it, I can use one to make braised crab, and the other to make spicy crayfish." Li Fei and Tian Qi were so scared that they quickly picked up their contracted beasts and ran away. Of course, the appearance of the newly incubated beasts was not important. Because they were still in their infancy, they would undergo many evolutions after reaching adulthood, and there would definitely be huge changes. For example, Yi Xingchen's Panhu beast looked like a husky when it first hatched. After 2 years of training, its strength had increased greatly, but its form was still that of a husky. Cancer region, a cancer race expert said. Race leader, the eggs we threw away have hatched. What are you waiting for? Let's go to the sect of all times. Yes, the crayfish race, and the other 8 races also moved out, and headed to the ancient celestial mountain. According to the rules set earlier, as long as the eggs hatched, the disciples who signed the life contract with them would also be brought along to train for 2 years. Therefore, not long after, Li Fei, Tian Qi, and the others stood at the foot of the mountain with tears in their eyes, waving goodbye to the patriarch and their fellow sect members. Sigh. Jun Changshao shook his head and said, "Parting is always painful." Ding! The sect's medicinal herb store has been opened. Reputation mission completed. 100 reputation points awarded. Ding! Sect reputation points, 200. Go Sheng was stunned for a second and said, "It's done." Chapter 14-15. Lin Yuan City. After a few days of renovation, Yuan Gongzi took off the red cloth covering the signboard and announced the official opening of the second business of the sect of all times, the herb store. Although it sold common herbs such as the heavenly emperor grass, it was destined to become a high-end business because its quality was at the level of heavenly treasures. City Lord Lu and his business partners came to report the good news and sent sincere congratulatory gifts. Feng Guichen. At this moment, a discordant voice sounded. "You've made me look for you so hard." Hall Master Feng turned to look. In the relatively empty area outside the shop, a man with red hair and a scarf covering half of his face stood proudly. Under the loose black robe was an exquisite token with the words Alchemy Hall engraved on it. The corners of his mouth rose slightly, and a faint smile appeared on his face. Du Hongchen. Feng Guichen frowned immediately. Lu Deshui and the others were surprised when they heard this. This strange red-haired guy was actually one of the 8 chief alchemists of the Alchemy Hall. Shua. Du Hongchen walked over, first glanced at the herb store, then at the pill store, and shook his head. "I heard that you joined a sect that just ascended to the upper realm. I thought it was just a rumor, but I didn't expect it to be true." Yuan Gongzi also frowned. This guy's tone made it clear that he was here to cause trouble for Hall Master Feng. "Oh, I forgot." Du Hongchen scratched his head and said, "The master of this patriarch of the sect of all times is Jinren Tonggu, and his background is not small." Feng Guichen asked in a deep voice, "Why are you looking for me?" "Ha ha ha." Du Hongchen laughed and said, "Who in the upper realm doesn't know that you and I are like fire and water? So I'm here today too." After a pause, he said with a cold face, "Cause trouble for you." The two looked at each other, and the atmosphere instantly became tense. Shua, Shua. City Lord Lu and the cultivators of the major families subconsciously dodged. The 8 chief alchemists were the face of the Alchemy Hall, and everyone knew that there was a gap between Feng Guichen and Du Hongchen. What was the reason? According to rumors, the two of them simultaneously took Taoist Dan Yuan as their master and cultivated the Tao of pills. They also fell in love with a girl at the same time and pursued her fiercely. In the end, the girl married someone else. It was unknown whether this matter was true or not. But one thing was certain: Feng Guichun and Du Hongchen were indeed Taoist Dan Yuan's disciples, because it could be seen from the word Chen. Yuan Gongzi realized that the problem was a little serious. He hurriedly used his voice transmission technique to inform the nearby members of the Drizzle Hall, asking them to quickly send the news back to the sect. Coming. They arranged for a member to be stationed at a certain distance from each other, and the method of alternating messages between each other reappeared. Patriarch. Not long after, Li Luoxia walked into the main hall and reported, Yuan Gongzi has sent news that one of the 8 head alchemists of the Pill Hall, Du Hongchen, has come to cause trouble for Hall Master Feng on the opening day of the medicine store. Jun Changshao, who was wondering how the prestige mission was completed, was surprised. I was going to visit them one by one. I didn't expect them to come to me. Swish! A 7-colored stream of light flew out from the sect of all times. At this time, the value of the 7-colored dazzling light wings was revealed, allowing one to travel anywhere at any time. Back in Linyuan City, only Feng Guichun and Du Hongchen were left in front of the newly opened medicine store. The two stared at each other, and the murderous aura around them became stronger and stronger. You too, Lu Deshui said weakly. Fighting is forbidden in the small city. Scram! Feng Guichun and Du Hongchen shouted. Farewell! Swish City Lord Lu instantly transformed into a top master, and in the blink of an eye, he was sitting in the city lord's mansion, drinking tea. Same old rules, Du Hongchen said lightly. Let's have a competition, whoever loses will kneel. The cultivators fighting in the distance twitched their mouths. The 2 head alchemists were both respected figures. Kneeling after losing was absolutely trampling on their dignity. Feng Guichun was about to agree. Hall Master Feng. Yuan Gongzi sent a voice transmission. Patriarch is on his way, find a way to delay him. Feng Guichun hurriedly corrected himself. I've been performing alchemy recently, so I'm physically and mentally exhausted. If you want to compete, wait until I've adjusted my condition. Both of them were disciples of perfected Dan Yuan, so the so-called competition would definitely be decided by alchemy. TCH. Du Hongchen sneered. I've seen the pills you refined. Although the quality is good, the refining method should be normal. If you can still exhaust your body and mind, it seems that not only have you not improved after so many years, you're getting worse and worse. This guy's words were a bit harsh. If it were before, Feng Guichun would definitely not have tolerated it, but since he had received the Patriarch's order, he suppressed his anger and sneered. Whether I've improved or not, we'll know after we compete. How many days do you want to recuperate? 3 days. Good. Du Hongchen waved his sleeves and left. 3 days later, you and I will compete in alchemy. Watching him leave, Yuan Gongzi couldn't help but ask, Hall Master Feng, what kind of grudge do you have with this person? Feng Guichun shook his head and said, it's all in the past, let's not talk about it. 3 days later. With the help of the rainbow light wings, Jun Changshao rushed over early in the morning and learned that the two were going to compete in alchemy. So he asked, do you have a chance of winning? It used to be 50-50, Feng Guichun said proudly. It's easy to beat him now. The two's strength in alchemy had always been neck and neck, and they had fought for hundreds of years without a winner. But it was different now. Hall Master Feng, who cultivated the Great Thousand Shadows art, usually comprehended twice as much, so his understanding of alchemy was definitely not comparable to Du Hongchen. That's good. Jun Changshao was relieved and quickly formulated a plan. Morning. Many cultivators gathered outside the medicinal shop. The 2 chief alchemists of the alchemy hall were going to compete, so they definitely wouldn't miss it. Du Hongchen arrived as scheduled. I've long heard of Grandmaster Du's name, and seeing you today, you really live up to your reputation. Jun Changshao, standing in front of the medicinal shop, cupped his hands and smiled. You are? the patriarch of the sect of all times. Heh, Du Hongchen said. So you're Jimren Tonggu's direct disciple? Jun Changxiao frowned. The patriarch. Feng Guichen transmitted his voice. This junior brother of mine is a loner, and his words are always unpleasant. Please don't lower yourself to his level. Jun Patriarch. Du Hongchen said. Since you can recruit Feng Guichen as your disciple, you should be outstanding in alchemy, right? Not bad, not bad. Why don't you and I have a competition? The expression on Jun Changxiao's face was wonderful. Ha ha ha. The system couldn't help laughing. In terms of martial Dao, the host could use cheats if he wasn't strong enough, but he knew nothing about alchemy. Challenging him was the same as directly grabbing his Achilles heel. Du Hongchen. Feng Guichen said coldly. Your opponent is me. Du Hongchen shook his head and said, you and I have competed 800 times, if not 1,000 times. It's really nothing new. Why don't you find your patriarch to compare notes? Damn it. Jun Changxiao cursed in his heart. He had great attainments in martial Dao, sword Dao, and array Dao, but he hadn't studied other sub-professions. Firstly, he didn't have any aptitude elixirs to consume, and secondly, he was a sect, not an omnipotent protagonist. Ding! Side quest triggered. This quest wouldn't be related to alchemy, right? Jun Changxiao opened the quest panel, and after seeing the words defeat Du Hongchen in alchemy, he immediately cursed in his heart. Damn it! Chapter 14-16. In terms of alchemy, Jun Changxiao also knew a thing or two about alchemy, so refining a qi-gathering pill was not a problem. However, because he relied too much on alchemy from the pill pavilion, he had never studied alchemy at all. Compared with the professional Du Hongchen, there was definitely a huge gap. If he were to compete, he would definitely lose miserably. No, I am the sect master. How can I casually make a move? Just as Jun Changxiao was about to refuse, the side quest came. From the content, it was obvious that he had to do something beyond his ability. Du Hongchen. Feng Guichen said lightly. You are not qualified to challenge my patriarch. As far as he knew, Jun Changxiao not only knew alchemy, but was also very good at alchemy. For example, the first transformation shaping pill he had taken before was simply a miracle pill. However, during this period of time, he had cultivated the Great Thousand Shadows art, and his alchemy had improved, so he hoped to defeat the other party personally. Hall Master Feng, Jun Changxiao said. Since this chief alchemist wants to challenge this king, I must satisfy him, so as not to be criticized by others. Damn it. The mission was already here. How could he not fight? All right. Feng Guichen looked at Du Hongchen with a sympathetic look. Being able to refine a shaping pill that could improve all aspects showed that the patriarch had high attainments in alchemy. This guy would definitely lose miserably. Regarding this, Yuan Gongzi agreed. Although the entire sect had never seen the patriarch refine pills, they believed in his strength. After all, many of the pills he had eaten had the ability to steal the fortune of heaven and earth. In fact, after agreeing to the competition, Jun Changxiao panicked in his heart. How could he beat him? Even if he crammed the Buddha's feet at the last minute, it would definitely be too late. Got it. First, he pretended to refine pills, and then secretly used the pill pavilion. The system was speechless. You are cheating. The mission didn't say that I can't cheat. As long as I beat him in alchemy, it's fine. Jun Changxiao boasted shamelessly. Shua. At this moment, Du Hongchen took out an alchemy furnace from his space ring and placed it on the street, saying, Don't pick a place, let's compete here. Martial arts competitions required a stage, but alchemy competitions were not that troublesome. They only needed an empty space. Jun Patriarch. Du Hongchen said lightly, Show me your pill furnace. Yuan Gongzi and Feng Guichen looked forward to it. An alchemy furnace was equivalent to a martial artist's equipment and most valuable treasure. It was absolutely indispensable. Therefore, the two of them were curious about the level of the alchemy furnace that the patriarch had refined. Gosheng was a little embarrassed. 2 years ago, he had given his disciples quite a few pill furnaces, but he didn't have any at all. It was not a big problem. Since he still had to cheat in the end, he might as well find something else to replace it with. Shwa. Jun Changshao waved his hand, and the magically modified vacuum cleaner appeared out of thin air. With his hands behind his back, he said, "This is my pill furnace." Feng Gui-chun and Du Hongchun were dumbfounded. The two of them had cultivated alchemy for so many years, but they had never seen such a pill furnace. Yuan Gongzi had seen the magically modified vacuum cleaner before and knew its function, so he was surprised in his heart. So this thing also has an alchemy function? No, there was no such function. However, even Anyo could be called an all-rounder, let alone a vacuum cleaner. The shape is so strange. Why does it look like a pot? The stranger the pill furnace, the more precious it is. Jun Changshao took out the magically modified vacuum cleaner. Because of its special shape, it immediately attracted the attention of all the martial artists. Du Hongchun said lightly, "Jun Patriarch, how do we compete? Each of us will refine a first revolution pill, and then we will determine the winner based on time, quality, and effect," Jun Changshao said. First revolution? Du Hongchun frowned. This level of pill was nothing to him. He almost couldn't help but say, "If you have the ability, let's compete with second revolution pills." Of course, Jun Changshao said. "Exchanging pointers in alchemy is really boring. Let's add some stakes." It's coming, the system said. "The trick is really coming." "What kind of stakes?" "This king will kneel in front of everyone if he loses, and you will join my sect if you lose." He had thought of this trick just now. He originally planned to use it against Feng Gui-chun, but he didn't expect the other party to suddenly challenge him. "You are Zhenren Tonggu's disciple. I can't bear your kneel." Du Hongchun pointed to Feng Gui-chun and said, "How about this? If you lose, let this guy kneel 3 times and kowtow 9 times in front of me in public." Although this guy's words were unpleasant, he knew that Go Sheng had a backer. "Hallmaster Feng," Jun Changshao asked, "what do you think?" Feng Gui-chun said, "I will follow Patriarch's arrangement." "Good," Jun Changshao said loudly. "It's settled then. This king will kneel 3 times and kowtow 9 times if he loses, and you will join my sect of all times." Huff huff. A cold wind blew from the street of the herb store, making the atmosphere even more austere. Du Hongchun stood in front of the pill furnace and took out baskets of herbs. He then untied the red scarf wrapped around his arm and tied it to his forehead, his eyes gradually becoming cold. "Patriarch," Feng Gui-chun said solemnly, "this guy is getting serious. I can see it." Jun Changshao said so, but in his heart he thought, "It's time to test my acting skills." Shwa, shwa. With a wave of his hand, various herbs were placed on the table prepared in advance. Although he was cheating with the pill pavilion, he still had to act. "Please." Du Hongchun cupped his hands and immediately slapped the table with one hand. Dozens of herbs instantly bounced up and were then enveloped by a thick cloud of true energy. "Patriarch." Feng Gui-chun acted as a commentator and said, "This is a quenching method, which can maximize the energy of the herbs. Putting them into the pill furnace will have a better effect." "Damn, so professional. How can I fall behind?" "Pa!" Jun Changshao also slapped the table and shook all kinds of herbs. Shwa shwa shwa. His palm turned into a knife and slashed wildly. Complete herbs were cut into pieces and then neatly arranged on the table. Feng Gui-chun was dumbfounded. Complete herbs contained extremely strong heaven and earth attributes. Wouldn't all the energy be lost if they were cut into pieces? This is a slicing method created by this king, based on the culinary Tao. After putting them into the pill furnace, it can fully dissolve the herbs and greatly improve the quality of the pill. Jun Changshao explained. Go Sheng had never practiced alchemy before, but this didn't stop him from bragging. "So that's how it is." Feng Gui-chun suddenly understood. The Patriarch's method of doing the opposite was really admirable. "Che." Du Hongchun coldly snorted. If the herbs were cut into pieces, it would be strange if they could improve the quality. Shwa. At this moment, he spread out his hands and placed them on the pill furnace. Suddenly, a hot flame emerged from his body. "Earth Spirit Fire." Everyone exclaimed one after another. They all knew that this chief alchemist had a very rare fire seed. Now that they could see it with their own eyes, they were really lucky. Du Hongchun, who was heating the pill furnace, looked at Jun Changshao with a rather proud look, as if to say, "Kid, are you jealous of my color?" Whoosh! At this moment, Go Sheng kicked the vacuum cleaner up and caught it firmly with his right palm. An extremely pure flame instantly burst out. Damn! Feng Guichen once again exposed his ignorance and exclaimed, "Fire soul spirit!" Du Hongchen's eyes widened. Although his earth spirit fire was rare in the upper realm, a fire soul spirit born in the universe was extremely rare. Oh my god! Jun Patriarch's flame is even stronger. Nonsense! This is a spirit that can only be born in the universe. It's rare even in the upper realm. Chapter 14:17. Du Hongchun could show off his skills and pills crazily in front of Jun Changshao. But he could not show off his flames, because this guy had a son born in the universe, called the Spirit of Fire Soul. It was undeniable that this spirit was born in the mortal universe, but because of its uniqueness and huge growth potential, even in the upper realm system, it was still the fire attribute that everyone dreamed of. No wonder Patriarch could refine the shaping pill. He has such a powerful spirit of fire. Feng Guichen was shocked. Flames played a crucial role in smelting herbs, so the higher the level, the more powerful the pill could be refined. So fragrant. Imagine, there were two laws of the sect of all times. Jun Changshao showed off the spirit of fire soul that could only be born in the universe, and immediately set off a small climax of showing off. Du Hongchun, who had been proud of himself, couldn't even smile anymore. You have a pill furnace, I have a vacuum cleaner. You have a quenching method, I have a slicing method. You have the fire of earth spirit, I have the spirit of fire soul. Come on, let's hurt each other. Damn it! Du Hongchun suddenly waved his hands, and all the quenched herbs instantly flew into the pill furnace. Just from the way he threw the herbs into the furnace, it could be seen that he was definitely a battle-hardened alchemy master. Jun Changshao was not willing to fall behind. He first put the vacuum cleaner on the medicine table, picked up the flat suction nozzle, and instantly sucked in the cut herbs, then continued to heat them with the flames. Smooth as flowing water, all done in one go. Creating a character in a hypothetical situation was known as a non-material performance in performance art. At this moment, Jun Changshao had obviously entered this state. Not only was he immersed in his performance, but he also seemed to have transformed into an alchemy master, standing in the center of attention of thousands of people, listening to the people shouting, "Go salt smuggler!" Whoosh! Whoosh! Scorching flames rose up, sometimes scorching hot, and sometimes restrained. "Awesome! Master!" everyone exclaimed. If they knew that the herbs in the vacuum cleaner were all black mud, and that Jun Changshao was just playing around, they would definitely vomit blood on the spot. It was true that the alchemy was fake, but Jun Changshao's actions, logic, and other aspects were all on point. It was impossible to find any flaws. Even Du Hongchun had been fooled, believing that his strength was not simple. An actor. He had to act like what he was acting, even if it was an insignificant action, even if it was just a casual glance, it would all be a show. Winking and glaring in front of the camera, and even lip-syncing with numbers at best, she was just a celebrity. Jun Changshao is very handsome, who doesn't know that? But please don't label him as a little fresh meat, just because of his looks, because he also has acting skills that don't lose out to the best actor. Schwa. After a while, Jun Changshao, who had completely immersed himself in his role, put away his flames and placed the smoking vacuum cleaner on the medicine table. He quickly turned it around and opened the vacuum cleaner in a practiced manner. When 10 hot medicinal pills appeared, he wrapped his fist in his palm and said, "Sorry for embarrassing myself." Du Hongchun was dumbfounded. I had just put in the herbs and hadn't started to decompose them. But he had already finished refining? And it was a full batch. That speed was too terrifying. Feng Guichen was shocked. I'm not even 1/10 as good as Patriarch. From the beginning of the performance to the completion of the pills, it had only been 2 or 3 minutes. So all the cultivators were stunned. Although they didn't understand alchemy, they had heard that the process of refining pills was extremely boring and cumbersome. It might even take a few days, or even dozens of days to refine. Impossible, Du Hongchen said. It's impossible to refine so fast. If it was an ordinary type of pill, it might be refined in a very short time. But this time, the rule was to refine a first revolution pill. Even immortal Danyuan couldn't do it. Jun Changshao poured 10 first revolution shaping pills into the tray, and said with a smile, "Facts speak louder than words." Du Hongchen was silent. At first, he thought whether the other party would throw in 10 pills when he wasn't paying attention, but now he dispelled that idea. Because the 10 pills were shining and shining, they all represented that they had just been refined. Yes, the pills had indeed just been refined. In this regard, Jun Changshao would never cheat. It was just that they were sent to the vacuum after being refined by the pill pavilion. Humph. Du Hongchen calmed his mind and said coldly, "Refining pills is not about speed but about quality." Huff huff. The flame intensified, and he continued to refine pills. Jun Changshao folded his arms and quietly watched his performance, thinking to himself, "Comparing quality with the pills refined by my pill pavilion, I'm afraid you've lost your mind." Du Hongchen's strength in alchemy was very good. It only took him half an hour to refine a first revolution pill. Feng Guichen was not surprised. After all, they had competed so many times, and everyone was clear about their strength. Such a talent must be recruited. Jun Changshao secretly rejoiced. "Come," Du Hongchen said. "Begin to verify the quality of the pills." Saying so, he walked to Jun Changshao's table uninvited, picked up a pill, and began to verify it himself. Perfect. Then he picked up the second pill. Perfect. Perfect. When he pinched the 10th pill and confirmed that the quality was still perfect, Du Hongchen suddenly deflated like a balloon. Pa! Putting down the pill, he turned his head and said, "You win, I lose." In fact, both of them refined 10 perfect quality pills, but because of the huge difference in time, it was easy to determine the winner. Heh, this guy is quite honest. Nonsense. The system said, he is the chief alchemist of the alchemy hall. What he cares about is reputation and honor. How can he be as shameless as the host? Jun Changshao smiled. According to the previous agreement, if you lose, you will join the sect of all times. Don't worry, Du Hongchen said lightly. This Du always accepts defeat. I will never go back on my words. Shua. Jun Changshao skillfully took out the entry form and said, "In that case, let's go through the entry procedure." Wait a minute. Du Hongchen pointed at Feng Guichen and said lightly, "I want to compete with this guy. If I win, the previous bet will be void. What do you think, Jun Patriarch?" Fuck. The system cursed. Just now I was praising you for having the style of a master, but now you are playing tricks on me. Okay. Jun Changshao agreed readily. Go Sheng's personality was to not use people he doubted. Since Hall Master Feng joined the sect of all times and became the Hall Master, and said that he could defeat Du Hongchen, he definitely trusted him, and was willing to let him lose even more miserably. Sure enough, Feng Guichen did not disappoint Jun Changshao. After a 3-chapter pill competition, he finally won by refining a furnace full of perfect quality pills in an even shorter time. Du Hongchen, who lost 2 rounds in a row, stood on the medicine table in a daze. He and Feng Guichen came from the same sect, and had always been evenly matched in alchemy. Why did the other party's alchemy skills improve by leaps and bounds in just a few years? Master. Jun Changshao handed over the entry form and said with a smile, "If you want to know how you lost, join the sect of all times, and you will understand." Du Hongchen raised his head with difficulty and said, "Let me say this first. I am only temporarily joining the sect of all times. When I beat you in alchemy in the future, you must restore my freedom." "No problem," Jun Changshao said seriously. "As long as you join the sect, you can accept challenges at any time." Du Hongchen began to fill out the entry form, and thought to himself, "Revenge is a dish best served cold. I will win back the 2 rounds I lost today." Pa. The sect seal was stamped on it. At this point, Du Hongchen, one of the 8 chief alchemists of the alchemy hall, became a member of the sect of all times. 6 more. Chapter 14:18. Du Hongchun, who was willing to accept his loss, had joined the sect of all times, which had undoubtedly greatly improved their overall strength in alchemy. After all, the former was not inferior to Feng Guichun in alchemy. Jun Changxiao was not satisfied with the current situation. He hoped to win over the other 6 chief alchemists of the alchemy hall, and then with the 8 of them as the core, he would build an ancient alchemy hall. For this he needed to take action. Alchemy Hall Headquarters Main Hall. The long-robed old man sitting at the head said, "My left eyelid is twitching more and more." Report. At this moment, a subordinate hurriedly walked in and said, "There is news from Lin Yuan City. Chief alchemist Du Hongchun has joined the sect of all times." What? The long-robed old man was surprised. He already knew that Feng Guichun had joined the sect of all times, and now another chief alchemist had joined. Moreover, they had irreconcilable conflicts. This was unbelievable. Strange. One of the higher-ups was puzzled. What is so special about the sect of all times that Feng Guichun and Du Hongchun are willing to join? They all knew that Jun Changxiao's honored master was Zhenren Tonggu, but martial arts and alchemy were 2 different things. What's more, the sect had just ascended. Even if they were outstanding in alchemy, it was impossible for them to be better than 2 chief alchemists, right? According to the news, Master Du and the patriarch of the sect of all times sparred in alchemy, and were completely defeated, the subordinate said. Completely defeated? The long-robed old man and the other higher-ups were surprised. From the literal meaning of complete defeat, it meant that he had lost completely. Tsk tisk. Someone said, "Could it be that Senior Tonggu's disciple also has extremely high attainments in alchemy?" That's not right. One of the higher-ups wondered. I've never heard of Senior Tonggu being involved in alchemy. How did he cultivate such a disciple? Report. At this moment, another subordinate came in and said, "Hall Master Feng sent a message. Soon, the patriarch of the sect of all times will personally visit the alchemy hall." As soon as he said this, the long-robed old man's left eyelid twitched even more, so he hurriedly asked the higher-ups. "Hall Master," an old man said with a smile, "if I'm not wrong, the patriarch of the sect of all times' visit might bring fortune to the alchemy hall." "That's what I think too." His left eye twitched for fortune, and his right eye twitched for disaster. When Jun Changxiao was mentioned, the hall master's left eye twitched violently. Alchemy and alchemy hall's alchemy, especially to the sect of alchemy, to the sect to the sect to the sects to the sect. "I hope so," the long-robed old man said. The sect of the all times. Jun Changxiao appointed Du Hongchun as the hall master of the pill hall. Wait. Feng Feng's? To the sect the 2 of them had conflicts, so Du Hongchun would definitely not be happy to be the vice hall master. Therefore, Jun Changxiao decided to let both of them be hall masters and have equal authority. Although the hall leader was a position, the readers knew in their hearts that once they entered the eternal sect, especially in the aspect of alchemy, they were destined to be a coolie. That's not right. Du Hongchun, who had just taken up the position, received a mission to open a pill store in another city. He would be responsible for the pill store's production and supply. He had already arranged the manpower. Damn it. Are they using me as a tool? Hall Master Du at this moment. Li Qingyang came to see him. The patriarch wants you to go to the Great Hall. Du Hongchun was unhappy, but he still went. Jun Changxiao had been waiting for a long time. Seeing his sword, he threw a pill over. This is the sect's exclusive pill-shaping pill. Du Hongchun immediately realized from the shape that this was made during the alchemy competition. Patriarch. He put it on the table. Can I not eat it? Are you afraid it's poisonous? Jun Changxiao said. Anyone who enters the sect will be given this pill to strengthen the body, meridians, soul, and other aspects. It's up to you to eat it or throw it away. Strengthen the body, meridians, and soul? So magical? Du Hongchun muttered in his heart. Shua. Jun Changxiao threw another secret book. This is the sect's exclusive martial art. It can help improve your alchemy Dao. You can use it to cultivate when you have nothing to do. Thousand Shadows art? Du Hongqian read and thought. Doesn't the patriarch know that I mainly cultivate alchemy Dao and rarely cultivate martial Dao? Prepare. Jun Changshao said. We'll leave for Haoyu City in half a month. Haoyu City was a city he valued. Its overall strength was greater than Lin Yuan City. And because of its geographical location, it was a transportation and trade hub. Understood. Du Hongqian got up and left. Because he lost the bet, he could only be forced to enter the sect. In fact, his current mentality was, you can get me, but you can never get my heart. Can it really improve alchemy Dao? After returning to his residence, Du Hongqian was really bored, so he flipped through the Thousand Shadows art. When he saw the introduction, he blurted out, damn, a divine skill. A few days later, he successfully condensed the shadows. After experiencing the initial benefits, he suddenly realized, no wonder that guy's alchemy Dao improved so quickly. Swish! Du Hongqian hurriedly took out the shaping pill and thought, this thing may be really magical. Gulp. After swallowing it, he felt that his meridians, blood, and even soul had improved. He couldn't help but say, one kind of elixir can combine the effects of many kinds of elixirs. It's amazing. At this moment, Du Hongqian's mentality had a huge change. He had completely changed. You can get my body and my heart. Even when he saw Jun Changshao, he had to respectfully call him patriarch. Dai Lu expressed, this person really has no backbone at all. Speaking of the unyielding brother Green Scarf, he was also quite bored recently. Because there were no prisoners in the prison, he had nothing to do all day, and mainly focused on cultivation. Arya and Zhao Daodu also wandered around the prison all day, like two salted fish who had lost their souls. Don't worry, Jun Changshao comforted. There will be prisoners soon. Why did he say that? Because the Drizzle Hall had just sent a message. 2 years ago, the Lingwei True Sect had contacted the patriarch of the Fuqian Sect. Damn it! Jun Changshao slammed the table and said angrily, I knew there was something fishy about this. Although the trouble caused by the Lingwei True Sect ended with compensation, Gosheng would definitely investigate the cause and effect. He would investigate why the other party was so coincidentally in the area of the magnetite vein. As expected, he really found a loophole. Li Luochio said, this patriarch Pei is probably unhappy that the patriarch obtained the magnetite vein. He deliberately told the location of the vein to the Lingwei True Sect, so that they could kill him with a borrowed knife. Pei silly. Jun Changshao stood up and shook his head. His eyes gradually became gloomy and cold as he said, this king is kind enough to let you off this time, but you still dare to play tricks on me. Don't blame the sect for becoming a money-losing sect. Patriarch, Li Luochio said, it's pronounced Fu. Jun Changshao slammed the table and said, then let him become the patriarch of paying money. Chapter 14:19. Whoosh, whoosh. The scorching flames engulfed the entire Fuqian sect like an ancient beast. The corpses of the disciples were strewn all over the place. The blood that had gathered into a river was evaporating bit by bit. The scene was like hell on earth. Thud, thud. Black figures with blurry appearances stopped in front of the main hall. Their eyes were flashing red, emitting a bone-chilling murderous intent. They were wearing the same uniform with the word ancient printed on their chests. Plop. Pei Si, who was standing in front of the main hall, could no longer hold on. He collapsed to the ground like mud. His eyes were filled with despair and fear. Patriarch Pei. A sinister voice came from behind the black figures. It's time for you to die. Swoosh. A sword beam shot over. A strong aura of death surged in his heart. No. Pei Si sat up from the bed and saw the moon hanging high in the sky. He wiped the sweat from his forehead and panted. I had a nightmare again. That's right. Just now it was just a dream of his sect being destroyed. But because it was too real, he couldn't eat or sleep in peace. Sigh. Pei Si said bitterly. I regret it so much. I regret it so much. He had been living in fear for the past 2 years. There was no other reason. The person who had tricked him had a master who was Jimren Tonggu. Who was he? This was a top power that even the Jia Hall was afraid of. If he could go back in time and return to the time of the sect meeting on Lingfeng Mountain, he definitely wouldn't have tricked Jun Changshao. He wouldn't even have participated in the event. Unfortunately, things couldn't be reversed. Actually, 2 years ago, the Lingwei True Sect had vented their anger on the Fuqian Sect. Pei Si had paid a huge price to barely save the sect. However, this was just a small problem. The real problem was the sect of all times. At first, he considered whether to go to their sect and apologize. However, he didn't have the courage. Furthermore, they hadn't come after so long. Perhaps they didn't know that he was the one who had told them the location of the mine. Pei Si didn't take any action. He believed that time would wash away everything. Sigh. The path to heaven became narrower and narrower. It even led to hell. Pei Si broke out in a cold sweat because of the nightmare. He stood up and went to the table to pour some water. Thank you. You're welcome. Ka. The atmosphere in the room, and Pei Si Li's expression suddenly froze. With the help of the moonlight, he saw an extraordinary young man sitting on the chair, holding a teacup that he had just filled. That was right. It was Jun Changshao. Ha ha ha. Pei Si Li suddenly laughed and said, "The sect protecting formation has always been activated. How could he be sitting here? Dream. It must be a dream." Hoo hoo. At this moment, flames flickered outside the window. Pei Si Li laughed again. This kind of situation was similar to repeated dreams. This meant that he was actually still in a deep sleep, or even had a dream within a dream. Pa. Jun Changshao slapped his face and asked, "Does it hurt?" "It hurts." Pei Si Li grimaced. His mind, which was originally in a daze, suddenly became very clear. He howled in his heart. "It's not a dream." Swoosh. Jun Changshao grabbed his collar and dragged him out of the room. He said, "I gave you a chance at Spirit Peak Mountain, but you didn't know how to cherish it. From today onwards, the Fuqian sect will be removed from the pugilistic world. All resources will belong to the sect of all times." It's over, it's over. The nightmare had finally come true. Pei Si Li was dragged to the martial arts arena like a dead dog. At this moment, tens of thousands of sect disciples were kneeling on the ground, holding their heads as they watched the main hall being engulfed in flames. Their eyes were filled with fear and despair. Li Qingyang and the others were fully armed and stood in the surroundings like emotionless killers. The Fuqian sect's overall strength was not bad, but in front of a group of cheaters, they were surrounded in a daze while sleeping. They were not even given a chance to resist. Plop. Pei Si Li was thrown to the ground. Jun Changshao sat on the chair that Xiao Ziji had prepared in advance. He glanced at the Fuqian sect disciples and said indifferently, "As the saying goes, every wrong has its perpetrator, and every debt has its debtor. I will only deal with the patriarch. You can go down the mountain and find another way." This sect had to be destroyed, but the innocent would not be harmed. Actually, in the lower world, Jun Changshao had destroyed sects before, but he had always adhered to the principle of not harming the innocent. For example, the first sect he destroyed, the Spirit Spring sect, had only been dismissed in the end. Otherwise, Dai Lu would have been dead long ago. Even when he went to the extreme cold palace, he only blew up the mountain gate and did not cause any deaths. Of course, except for the evil sects that did all kinds of evil. Pei Si Li had tricked him at Spirit Peak Mountain. Jun Changxiao's anger dissipated after beating him up, so he did not take it to heart. However, he could not tolerate the fact that Pei Si Li had used someone else to do his dirty work. Therefore, whether it was compensation or payment, the Fuqian sect had to disappear. It was normal to have conflicts with other sects when developing. For example, he had offended the Sword Mystic sect and the High Blade Mystic sect. Gosheng generously welcomed them to seek revenge at any time. However, if they hid in the dark and played dirty tricks, sorry, but he had to kill them. Whoosh whoosh, whoosh whoosh whoosh. Endless flames enveloped the entire Fuqian sect, and the buildings were gradually engulfed. The scene in Pei Si Li's dream was already very scary, but it was still very different from what had happened in reality. He did not have the chance to carefully compare the difference between the dream and reality, because he had been sent to the Tianyuan prison pagoda, and was being watched by Arya, Zhao Daodu, and Dai Lu. Jun Changshao did not intend to kill him, but he would definitely be in jail. Let's get to work. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. Whips, candles, ropes, and other tools appeared out of thin air. A few days later, news of the destruction of the Fuqian sect spread in some areas of the upper world, causing an uproar. This sect was not very powerful, but it still had some history. It was a little unbelievable that it had been destroyed so suddenly. Who did it? A few allies of the Fuqian sect have already started investigating. This is a sect that has been in the upper world for many years. Unless they have a deep grudge with others, they can't be destroyed so easily. It was difficult to establish a sect in the upper world, but it was also difficult to be destroyed. This was because the surviving sects had connections, and other forces would be more or less afraid when they took action. Bam! In the main hall of the Linging sect, a big shot slammed the table and said angrily, "We must find out who the murderer is and seek justice for the Fuqian sect." Many big shots from various sects were sitting around. They had a good relationship with Pei Sili, and when they heard that the Fuqian sect had been destroyed, they would be filled with righteous indignation. Could it be the Lingwei True sect? Someone asked. As soon as this was said, the big shots calmed down and put on a look that said, "I'm just here to drink tea." These sects were just huddling together for warmth. They could only pretend to be subservient to the Lingwei True sect, let alone the Lingwei True sect. Impossible, a big shot said. If the Lingwei True sect did it, they would have announced it to the public long ago. That's right. Someone said, the Lingwei True sect is a prestigious Lingwei True sect after all. How could they lose their status and destroy a lowly Fuqian sect? Then who could it be? Everyone began to guess. However, they still could not figure out who Pei Sili had offended. Report. At this moment, a disciple walked in and said, "The sect of all times announced to the public that they have an irreconcilable grudge with the Fuqian sect, so they destroyed it along the way." The sect of all times? The big shots of the various sects widened their eyes. They had heard of this name before, and they also knew that the patriarch Jun Changshao was Jimren Tonggu's disciple. Oh, I just remembered that I still have important matters to deal with in the sect. I'll take my leave first. My sect will be holding a sect competition in 2 days. I have to personally organize it. Goodbye. There's been a problem with my cultivation recently. I'll go back and recuperate for a while. Chapter 1420. After learning that the culprit was the sect of all times, the elders of the various sects who were seeking justice for the Fuqian sect immediately got up and left. The entire hall instantly became empty. They could not afford to offend the Lingwei True sect. They could not afford to offend the disciples of Jimren Tonggu. Because of their powerful background, the situation that should have happened after the young ones were defeated was stopped in a timely manner. However, someone was unhappy. That was the Jia Hall that managed the world. He destroyed the Fuqian sect casually, and publicly announced it to the world. He's simply too arrogant and despotic. He doesn't take us seriously at all. Although the upper realm was crueler than the lower realm, the system was more complete. The Jia Hall would definitely not be indifferent to the destruction of a sect. Damn it. In the hall, a dignified old man said angrily, "Does Jun Changshao think that he can do whatever he wants in the upper realm, just because he has Jimren Tonggu's support? He's only been here for 2 years, and he's already destroyed a sect. If he's allowed to do as he pleases, the world will be in chaos." Someone said angrily, "No, we must seek an explanation from Jimren Tonggu." Naturally, they would not sympathize with a small Fuqian sect. However, they were still law enforcers on the surface. Your disciple has destroyed a sect and announced it publicly. Are you telling the world that we can't do anything to him? Needless to say, Jun Changshao did have this intention. Before coming to the upper realm, he was already unhappy with the Jia Hall. Now that he had a powerful background, he would definitely not give them any face. Moreover, the Fuqian sect has tricked me twice, especially using others to kill me. If Master had not arrived in time, wouldn't the sect of all times have been wiped out by the Lingwei True sect? When that time comes, will you law enforcers seek justice for me? The answer was definitely no. because it was normal for a truth-level sect to destroy an unrelated and unrated sect. In fact, if there was a grudge between sects that involved the destruction of a sect, as long as it was not too serious, the Jia Hall would usually not intervene. This time, it was mainly Jun Changxiao who announced it to the public. It was full of provocation. If he did not make a statement, what would the major sects think? What would the whole world think? Find him. We must find him. After a unanimous discussion in the Jia Hall, they decided to look for Zhenren Tonggu. Your disciple has given us a difficult problem. If we don't put up a front, how are we going to manage the upper realm in the future? Everyone, the dignified old man asked. Which one of you is going to the extreme cavern? As soon as he said this, everyone fell silent. There were some words that could be said to satisfy one's mouth, but when it came to action, one would definitely be terrified. Moreover, 2 years ago, Taoist Tong Gu had forcefully shielded him in front of all the major clans in the Eternal Sect. I'll go. A voice came from outside the main hall. Everyone looked over and saw Empress Ling Yao standing in front of the door, shrouded in clouds and mist. All right. No problem. The Jia Hall agreed unanimously. Even though they disliked this woman, they had to admit that she was very capable. Otherwise, she would not have ascended to rank 9 cultivation level and connections in just a few thousand years. On the same day, the Jia Hall announced to the public that they would investigate the destruction of the Fuqian sect. This could be considered as telling the world that they did not sit idly by and do not fear Jun Changxiao's master, Zhenren Tonggu. Courageous. Let's wait for the results. Sect of all times. Jun Changxiao sat in the main hall gloomily, because he only obtained tens of millions of magnetite after destroying a sect. There was no helping it. Pei Sili had sold everything he had to appease Spirit Fine True Sect's anger, so he did not have much savings in the past 2 years. However, Fuqian Sect's cultivation methods and martial arts were all plundered. Even though their levels were not as high as the system's reward, they could be used to exchange for profound martial arts from the cultivation method pavilion. Right. Jun Changxiao slapped his forehead, saying, There is still a sect function that I did not use. I can use it to upgrade the cultivation method pavilion. Spirit Essence Pavilion skipped me again. There was no choice. Your function was to inject attributes into equipment. The sect disciples did not have new weapons and equipment. Even if they were upgraded, their value would not be reflected. But the cultivation method pavilion was different. If the martial arts inside were strengthened by the upgrade, it would greatly increase everyone's cultivation speed. Ding! The cultivation method pavilion has been upgraded to the strengthened version. After the upgrade, Jun Changxiao hurriedly clicked on the new function, and a look of joy appeared on his face. After the upgrade, the cultivation method pavilion did not change much, and the martial arts listed were the same as before, but with the word strengthened in front. It seemed to mean that the martial arts were still the same, but they had been upgraded along with the function. That's great. Jun Changxiao grinned. Under the new version, the martial arts were not changed, but upgraded from the original foundation. This meant that the 5 elements heaven appraisal art, universe 9 seals palms, and other martial arts that he had bought could still be used, and he did not need to gather martial arts to exchange for new ones. Let's give it a try. Jun Changxiao sat down cross-legged and circulated the 5 elements heaven appraisal art. Immediately, he saw extremely rich 5 elements surging from all directions, and the amount was actually dozens of times stronger than before. Fuck Anyao. The upgrade of the Spirit Beast Pavilion was already very terrifying, but the upgrade of the Cultivation Method Pavilion was directly cheating on the spot. Why? Because after the martial arts that he had bought and cultivated in advance were upgraded, Jun Changxiao did not even have to recomprehend them before evolving. What was the difference between this and directly opening a lock and directly passing through a wall? Creak. Yi Xingchen, who had cultivated in the forging room for a day, dragged his tired body back to his residence and closed the door. As usual, he sat cross-legged on his bed and circulated the 5 elements heaven appraisal art. Although he had a stronger illumination heart sutra, He would not forget to cultivate the old mental cultivation method. After all, it could cultivate the power of the 5 elements. Huff. After circulating the 5 elements heaven appraisal art, Yi Xingqian's expression suddenly froze. After completely confirming that the attributes in the room were dozens of times stronger than before, he exclaimed, "What's going on?" After Jun Changshao upgraded the cultivation method pavilion, the majestic 5 elements gathered above the sect of all times. They swarmed down and fought to be the first to merge into the bodies of the disciples, forming a rather spectacular scene. The next day, all the disciples gathered at the training field. That's right. Jun Changshao stood in front of the main hall and bowed to the plaque with the words "Unyielding Iron Bones." He said solemnly, "The ancestors of the sect have shown themselves, allowing us to understand the mental cultivation method to a higher level." I see. All the disciples were enlightened. No wonder they suddenly had a deeper understanding of the 5 elements heaven appraisal art and other martial arts techniques yesterday. It turned out that the ancestors of the sect had helped them in the dark. "Thank you, ancestors." The disciples gathered at the training field shouted in unison. Woody naturally did not believe that the ancestors of the sect had shown themselves and allowed him to have a higher understanding of martial arts out of thin air. Instead, he thought to himself, could it be that Senior Qishuan thinks that the sect is very weak in the upper realm, so he used a great magical power to forcefully increase our comprehension? Amazing, amazing! As expected of a super mighty figure who has entered the sacred venerable stage. As the leader of the imagination trio, Woody would always blame Senior Qishuan whenever he encountered something that went against the martial Tao. Otherwise, there was really no other way to explain it. Patriarch. At that moment, a disciple came to report. The Patriarch of the Lingwei True Sect is here to see you. Oh, Jun Changshao was rather surprised. Why is he here? Inside the main hall, Mei Xian sat down with a smile. Then, he placed a few spatial rings on the table and said, Jun Patriarch was not here earlier, so it was difficult for me to express my sincerity. Therefore, I have specially brought some gifts today. I hope that all the grudges between us will be resolved. Jun Changxiao's extermination of the Fuqian sect had made the Jia Hall very unhappy, but it also made him tremble in fear. This was because the reason behind it was definitely related to the mine. The upper realm did not know why the sect of all times had suddenly exterminated the Fuqian sect. Only Patriarch Mei knew. Therefore, after learning about this matter, he immediately became restless. After thinking about it, he decided to pay more money to completely resolve the conflict. Sensible people. Particular people. This, Jun Changshao was very embarrassed as he cupped his hands and said, Then Jun will reluctantly accept it. Come, prepare the food and wine. Since he had taken the other party's money, he definitely had to arrange a feast. After the dishes were served, Go Xing stood up and raised his wine cup. He smiled and said, Patriarch Mei, I wish that the friendship between our two sects will last forever. Forever and ever, forever and ever. Extreme Grade Cave Abode. Jinren Tonggu was sitting cross-legged under an ancient pine tree, his brows furrowed. If it were not for the fact that the girl was present, he would definitely have cursed it out loud. You bastard, you're causing trouble for me again. Senior Tonggu. Empress Lingyao said respectfully. To be honest, I come from the same mortal realm as your disciple. Oh, Jinren Tonggu smiled with interest. So, you're here today as a representative of the Jia Hall, not to seek an explanation from me, but to establish a relationship with me? That's right, Empress Lingyao said. Ha ha ha. Jinren Tonggu laughed. It's rare to meet such an honest junior. Actually, not to mention that I'm from the same hometown as Jun Changshao. Just the fact that I'm Qing Wei's disciple is enough to call you uncle, Empress Lingyao said. Jinren Tonggu was shocked. You're that crazy woman's disciple? Chapter 1421. Enlightened being Qing Wei's name might not be as famous as Jinren Tonggu and Gu Hongjinren in the upper realm, but she was still one of the top powerhouses. Empress Lingyao was her disciple. In terms of background, she might not be inferior to Jun Changshao. That's not right, Jinren Tonggu said. That woman was once labeled as a traitor. As her disciple, why would you help the realm hall? He had interacted with enlightened being Qing Wei before, but it was not like what a certain reader had said, that there was a romantic story between them. They were simply outstanding geniuses of the same era. To put it simply, they debuted at about the same time. Top powerhouses like Masato Kitano and Gu Hongzhenren were also from the same generation. That was because they made a name for themselves in the upper realm at about the same time. For example, Jun Changshao. He was very young now and had his own time. As he grew older and his cultivation base changed, he would definitely be addressed as a senior by many of his peers. However, speaking of which, it was a bit too difficult to be in the same generation as Gosheng. That was because in the lower realms, he had already ascended to the higher realms and entered the revolving core realm, while his peers were still lingering between the martial king and martial emperor realms. Because of the relationship between Jinren Tonggu and enlightened being Qing Wei, Jun Changshao and Empress Lingyao were considered to be in the same generation. Combined with the latter's relationship with the Night Emperor, the final conclusion was that Anyo was a generation younger. It was not a big problem. Yi Xingqian was Jun Changshao's disciple, so it was normal for him to be a generation younger. No. What did Anyo's generation difference have to do with the main topic? Was Gosheng's daily persecution not enough? Did the author have to add another stab in the side story? Back to the main topic. Enlightened being Qing Wei was a woman, but she was ruthless when it came to doing things. Back then, when she revealed her outstanding talent in the higher realms, because she was molested by a lecher, she directly massacred her family, and even wiped out 2 sects that supported her family, immediately causing a huge commotion. The Jia Hall would not remain indifferent, so they sent experts to capture her. Both sides fought fiercely in the Fida Valley for 3 days and 3 nights. In the end, Daoist Qing Wei killed several reincarnation core realm experts and calmly left. This matter quickly fermented and spread like wildfire. It could be said that at that time, the authority of the Boundary Hall was seriously impacted. Because of this, Master Daoist Qing Wei was directly classified as a traitor and was wanted all over the continent for the next several thousand years. Jinren Tonggu and Masato Kitano were witnesses to this period of history. Jinren Qing Wei was extremely talented. Although she was being hunted down endlessly by the Jia Hall, she continued to make breakthroughs and improve. It was only when she stepped into the Seeking Truth realm that various big shots came forward to mediate and resolve the long-standing grievances. Not to mention who was in the right and who was in the wrong about the annihilation of her family and sect. Just from this alone, one could see the truest portrayal of martial arts being respected. That was, the weak would be bullied, and the strong would be valued. Fortunately, Jun Changshao had a powerful master when he first came to the higher realms. Otherwise, if he publicly announced that he was the one who annihilated a sect, it would definitely cause the Jia Hall to be greatly displeased, and the problem would worsen. It would not be strange if he was labeled as a traitor in the end. Senior, Empress Lingyao explained, Master does not restrict me from doing anything, even if I become a member of the Jia Hall. Jinren Tonggu narrowed his eyes and said, Child, your master is very narrow-minded. How could she agree to let you work for the Jia Hall? Empress Lingyao said, Senior, you misunderstand. The Jia Hall and I do not have a superior-subordinate relationship, and I only hold an insignificant position in the internal department. The Jia Hall is also narrow-minded. Since they dare to use you, they probably don't know that you are Master Daoist Qing Wei's disciple, right? Jinren Tonggu's eyes gradually sharpened, as if he had seen through everything. I don't know, Empress Lingyao said truthfully. TSK, Jinren Tonggu said. Although your master and the Jia Hall have resolved their feud, they do not see eye to eye with each other. Yet you hold a position there. There must be another reason. When Master first entered the Jianghu, she was maliciously molested by others, and in a fit of anger, she annihilated the entire family. This was a matter of course, but she was labeled as a traitor by the Jia Hall. She could swallow this grievance, but as her disciple, I could not, Empress Lingyao said. It's a bit messy. Jinren Tonggu scratched his head and said, "Let me think about it. Senior, you have great cultivation, so you must have great wisdom as well. I will not beat around the bush. The reason I joined the Jia Hall is to overthrow it and seek justice for Master." Empress Lingyao said, her tone flat. Jinren Tonggu had already guessed it, but he was feigning ignorance. Seeing her admit it so frankly, he asked curiously, "So what is your real purpose in looking for me?" The world only knows that the Jia Hall is in charge of the entire upper world, but they do not know that it is secretly controlled by the 10 major immortal level sects. "I hope to gain your support," Empress Lingyao said. "Child," Jinren Tonggu said, "do you think that a lone cultivator like me can go against the 10 major immortal level sects? One person can't, but a group can." "Ha ha ha," Jinren Tonggu laughed and said, "I have lived for so long, but I have never seen such a daring child. You," he paused and said, "aren't you afraid that I will tell the Jia Hall?" "No." "Why?" "Because your disciple Jun Changshao is on the same side as me. When he is fully grown, he will definitely fall out with the Jia Hall. When that time comes, you will not only have to face the various clans, but also the 10 major immortal level sects that control life and death in the upper world." The corner of Jinren Tonggu's mouth twitched. He was not afraid of the Jia Hall on the surface. After all, their overall strength was weak. But the 10 major immortal level sects, unless his realm was higher, he would not be able to handle even one of them. If that bastard offended them, the problem would be worse than offending the various clans. Jinren Tonggu did not know how powerful an immortal level sect was, but he knew that a lone cultivator would never be able to defeat a group. "Senior," Empress Lingyao said, "your disciple destroyed the Fuqian sect because of the mine. I have investigated thoroughly, and the Jia Hall will not be able to find anything wrong with it, so you can rest assured." If this girl had investigated thoroughly and still came to find him, it seemed that she really wanted to destroy the Jia Hall. The disciple taught by Qing Wei was even crazier than she was in the past. "Of course," Empress Lingyao said, "I am not trying to get you to join us. I am here to tell you that sooner or later, we will stand on the same side and face the same enemy." "You are sure that my disciple will fall out with the Jia Hall?" Jinren Tonggu asked. "Senior, have you heard of the Cosmic Fortress?" "I have. It was blown up by your disciple." "Ah." Jinren Tonggu's eyes widened. Empress Lingyao said, "As everyone knows, the Jia Hall built the Cosmic Fortress in the lower realm to imprison traitors. Jun Changshao blew it up, which is tantamount to openly challenging the authority of the Jia Hall. If the 10 major immortal level sects pursue this matter, it will be a big problem." Jinren Tonggu's expression became interesting. The Jia Hall is wary of Senior's prestige, so they have always tried to minimize the problem. Empress Lingyao said, "But if Jun Changshao does something unbearable in the future, when the accumulated conflict erupts, the 10 major immortal level sects will probably come to you for an explanation." Jinren Tonggu said to himself, "I regret taking him as my disciple." Chapter 1422. Jinren Tonggu dared to protect his disciple in front of the other clans, but regretted taking him in as a disciple when he heard that he was from the 10 great celestial sects. This meant that the latter's power was definitely above the other clans. It made sense. The upper realm was dominated by humans. If there was no absolute power to suppress them, why would the other clans stay in their own realms? But Jinren Tonggu's regret was useless. Since he had already boarded Jun Changshao's car, the doors must have been welded shut. He could either sit there forever, or the car would crash. "Senior," Empress Lingyao said, "I'll take my leave now." After watching her leave, Jinren Tonggu asked telepathically, "Old friend, what do you think?" "This girl is not simple." Masato Katana walked out from the shadows. He had heard the entire conversation. Jinren Tonggu frowned. Spiritual Master Qingwei has taken in a very ambitious disciple. He believed some of the words, but there were some that he did not believe. For example, she overthrew the Jia Hall to avenge her master. It must be nonsense. There must be another reason behind it, and it was just a good excuse. Jun Changshao had never interacted with Empress Lingyao before, but from what he knew, He could tell that she was scheming. Taoist Tong Gu was a veteran of the Jianghu, so he could naturally tell from their brief conversation. The Jia Hall may be backed by the 10 great celestial sects, but if this girl really wants to overthrow them, she might succeed. Masato Kitano said. Bullshit. Jimren Tonggu said. How can a little girl overthrow an organization that has been around for so long? Nothing is impossible in this world if one has the will, Perfected Chi Yi said seriously. The more impossible something seems, the more likely it is that there will be an unexpected twist. Heh, Jimren Tonggu said. You have high hopes for this girl. No. Masato Kitano smiled and said. I think more highly of your disciple because he offended all the major clans right after ascending to the upper realm. This kind of reckless behavior is not something an ordinary person can do. Upon hearing this, Jimren Tonggu felt a headache coming on. After all, they were master and disciple. If he really offended the top 10 celestial level sects in the future, wouldn't that be equivalent to digging his own grave? Back then, the Realm Hall wanted to build a prison in the lower realms to imprison traitors. Many people didn't approve of it, fearing that it would endanger the creatures of the mortal realms, but they still did it. It's not bad that it was blown up by your disciple, Masato Kitano said. Don't say it. Jimren Tonggu said. My head hurts. This was also a matter. Although the Realm Hall did not pursue this matter, it was still a hidden danger. If it was exposed one day, and the 10 great celestial sects came to demand an explanation from him, it would really be, could he just take his luggage and leave? 2 years ago, when he faced all the major races and said, I'm not a scapegoat, I'm only here to support you, he had touched countless people. Now he couldn't take it anymore, and planned to run away like the Taishan old man. No, Jimren Tonggu said seriously. I have to hurry to Fengqi Celestial Mountain, and warn that guy not to cause any more trouble. The entire upper realms knew that he and Jimren Tonggu were master and disciple. Even if he ran away with his luggage, the scapegoat would still come. The best way was to not let him cause any trouble, especially not to offend the Realm Hall. Old friend, Masato Kitano said. Many things happen because of the unseen world. Even if we can interfere, who knows if it will lead to more trouble? Jimren Tonggu fell into a short silence. He smiled bitterly and said, My Taoist heart is in a mess. Forget it. Many things have already been decided. Forcefully interfering might backfire. We can only take one step at a time. Come, let's continue playing chess. Masato Kitano sat down and picked up a chess piece. He smiled and said, Whether your disciple will become a chess piece or a chess player in the upper realms, that will depend on him. Jimren Tonggu shook his head and said, If he can't find that realm, you and I will also be chess pieces. Sect of all times. Jun Changsha was a little happy recently. After upgrading the technique pavilion, the martial arts that he had exchanged for had been strengthened. Moreover, he did not need to cultivate them again. His disciples would only become stronger. Patriarch, Li Luochio reported. The Realm Hall has announced that they have sent Empress Ling Yao to the extreme cave abode to ask Senior Tonggu about the destruction of the Fujian sect. Oh, Jun Changsha frowned. Not only did this organization not fear my master, they even dared to ask him for an explanation? A few days later, Li Luochio reported again. The Realm Hall has announced that the matter has been investigated. The destruction of the Fujian sect was due to their own actions. Goxing immediately laughed. As a master, I still have some power. The Realm Hall's announcement was probably just for show. In reality, the entire matter had little to do with Jimren Tonggu. It was all because Empress Ling Yao had reported the truth to the Realm Hall. It was reasonable, and there was no fault to be found. After the Realm Hall had given their verdict, the matter of the Fujian sect could be considered to have come to an end. However, the discussion of the sect of all times did not decrease. Instead, it increased. It even had a tendency to engulf the entire upper realm. Ding! You have destroyed the Fujian sect and made a name for yourself in the upper realm. You have received 300 sect reputation points. Ding! Sect reputation points, 500. The more people talked about the sect of all times, the stronger the reputation points. Therefore, after reaching a certain level, Jun Changshao was rewarded with 300 reputation points. Are you surprised? Are you surprised? The system asked. TCH. Jun Changshao rolled his eyes and said, only 300 points. What's there to be surprised about? The system said, 500 reputation points can unlock reputation items. Host, don't be too greedy. Fuck. Jun Changshao cursed. All the reputation items have been replaced. Now there's none. Refresh. The system said. There are still many good things that haven't been bought. It's a pity to refresh them. The sky-piercing blade that required reputation points to buy had been replaced by reputation points. It had not been refreshed until now. Now that there were many new items that he wanted to buy, it would be even more painful to refresh them. To put it bluntly, Gosheng still did not have the money. Otherwise, he would have bought all the good things that caught his eye and refreshed them happily. Then hurry up and do the mission. The system said. Don't sit at home waiting like a master. After all, it won't fall from the sky for no reason. Ding! Side mission activated. Fuck! Jun Changshao, who was sitting in the sect, really did wait for a mission that fell from the sky. The content was host. Please visit the Alchemy Hall headquarters within half a year and discuss alchemy with many masters. This is too much. That's too much. In fact, Gosheng had sent a message saying that he would visit the Alchemy Hall soon. However, it was just a simple visit to see if he could persuade some alchemy masters to join the sect. In the end, this mission forced him to go and brag. No. Jun Changshao shook his head and said, if it's about martial arts knowledge, I can rely on the insight talisman to cheat. However, I don't know anything about alchemy. I'm afraid it won't work if I go and brag. Regret. Why didn't he follow the path of omnipotence back then? Alchemy, talisman, forging. Whatever he could learn, he would have learned it all. The system said, it takes a long time to go from the sect of all times to the Alchemy Hall headquarters. Host can use the number of visits every month to refresh the store. Perhaps there will be items related to alchemy? The reader said again that this dog will get whatever he wants. Walk your own path and let others talk about it. Sigh, that's the only way. Because the mission only had half a year, Jun Changshao hurriedly arranged things and set off. On the way, he took out 2 alchemy secret manuals and studied them. If he could not cheat in the future, he could only rely on last-minute efforts. The system was puzzled. When did you get these secret manuals? Nonsense. Jun Changshao said. Of course I borrowed them from Hall Master Feng and Hall Master Du. Fine. The possibility of returning them is not high, but the possibility of confiscating them is high. Chapter 1423. Boom! Suddenly, a deafening explosion came from the depths of the cliff. Then, a strong cultivator wearing the uniform of the Jia Hall crashed into the stone wall and was buried by the broken rocks. A bare-chested young man retracted his fist, put his hands on his forehead and said, You think you can kill me by sending a bastard over? What wishful thinking. Although he was only 12 or 13 years old, the aura around his hair was very powerful. Killing an 8 transformation core cultivator in an instant was the best proof. After returning from this reincarnation, my strength has increased greatly. The young man looked up coldly and said, Jia Hall, this is the beginning of your nightmare. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. At this moment, several men in black with good cultivation flew over from afar. Then, they respectfully half knelt on the ground and said in unison, Welcome back, my lord. The young man said, Have you been bullied by the Jia Hall during the time I was not here? My lord. One of the men in black said, We hid very well, and were not discovered by the Jia Hall. The young man shook his head, and his eyes gradually became cold. He said, I'm back again. You don't have to hide anymore. Everyone's eyes burned with passion. All these years, because of the lack of a leader, they had completely lost their goal. Now that the lighthouse was lit again, it would definitely guide them in the right direction. My lord. Someone said, When you were in prison, Buried Moon Pavilion sent a letter, hoping to join forces to fight against the Jia Hall. Buried Moon Pavilion? The young man sneered. Are they worthy of joining forces with me? My lord, Buried Moon Pavilion has been fighting with the Jia Hall for thousands of years. Their strength is unfathomable. I think we can join forces with them, that person said. You think? The young man turned around and said coldly, What's the use of having a boss like me? The man in black hurriedly bowed. I didn't mean to offend you. The young man lightly jumped onto the boulder in front of him and swung his slightly stiff arms. Garish tattoos gradually appeared on his exposed back. He said, I can't trust these forces that are hiding in the dark at all. Oh right. He slapped his head and said, I can trust you, old brother. Old brother? His subordinates were stunned. Their lord was not young in the upper realm, but he actually called someone old brother. The other party was probably not ordinary. What a pity. The young man shook his head again and said, It's only been over 10 years since I reincarnated. My brother should still be working hard in the lower realms. As soon as he said this, his subordinates immediately widened their eyes. They had obtained a very important piece of information from their lord's monologue. The so-called old brother was in the lower realm. So how strong could he be? Master. One of the men in black plucked up his courage and asked, Who is this elder brother of yours? This. The young man rubbed his temples and said in puzzlement, That's strange. I only remember that there was a brother who treated me with sincerity, but I can't remember his name or what he looked like. His subordinates' mouths twitched. Sure enough, his lord still had his old problem. As long as he reincarnated, he would habitually lose a small part of his memory. Let's not think about it anymore. The youth said, In short, this brother of mine is very strong. If you see him in the future, you must be respectful. His subordinates broke down even more. He didn't know his name or what he looked like. Even if they met face to face in the future and couldn't recognize each other, how could they be respectful? After the youth and the men in black had a simple conversation, they left the cliff. He believed that without further explanation, the readers would be able to guess that this person was the tattooed man who wanted to die in the Starry Sky Fortress. As for his elder brother, it must be Jun Changxiao without a doubt. After all, the two of them were brothers of life and death. Unfortunately, because of the memory loss caused by reincarnation, he couldn't remember Go Sheng's name and appearance. Whether the two of them would meet in the future would depend on the plot. After a long time, the expert from the Jia Hall, who was buried in the rubble and pretended to be dead, crawled out while enduring his injuries. He thought to himself, This traitor has reincarnated again. I must inform the Jia Hall as soon as possible. And my elder brother's identity is definitely not simple. As someone who had followed the youth for a long time, he knew that the youth was arrogant. He always liked to treat others as his little brothers, and himself as the master. To be able to call him elder brother, his strength must be extraordinary. The Jia Hall, after a few of the higher-ups received the news, they immediately discussed with serious expressions. One of them said angrily, That guy was reincarnated again. This person is extremely dangerous. We must capture him as soon as possible, so that we can't do anything about it. The Buried Moon Pavilion is actually related to him. If both sides form an alliance, it will definitely bring a lot of trouble to the Jia Hall, and even the entire upper realm. And my elder brother, since he can call that guy brother, I'm afraid he's also a dangerous person. We need to find out his identity as soon as possible, so that we can make timely responses. Elder brother. He was destined to be unlucky. The camera turned to the unlucky, to Jun Changxiao's point of view. At this moment, he was walking while studying the arcana. Although he had obtained a lot of knowledge about pills, he was still a far cry from being a master. If he were to go to some other small-scale pill organization and brag blindly, Gosheng might be able to fool them. But what kind of place was the Alchemy Hall? The most authoritative pill organization in the upper realm. There must be many masters inside. No. Jun Changxiao broke down. I definitely can't beat them. Stop trying. The system said. Think of a way to cheat. Sigh. Jun Changxiao shook his head and immediately opened the beginner's shop. Then he refreshed the remaining 4 items. In the end, there was not a single item related to pills, so he broke down. I'm a VIP. It's not like you're buying it for a year. The system complained. Wait a minute. Suddenly Jun Changxiao stopped in his tracks. His gaze locked onto the last item in the item column. Bluff suit. What he was concerned about was that it was actually a piece of reputation equipment. Moreover, because the price was 500, it had been automatically unlocked and was in a purchasable state. The key point was the introduction item, bluff suit. Introduction. A costume that can pretend to be powerful. Advantage. Can change between martial arts, pills, formations, and other aspects at will, thus obtaining a powerful and intimidating aura. Disadvantage. If you encounter a super strong powerhouse, there is a high chance that it will be seen through. Use with caution. Price. 500 reputation points. The system said. What the host wants, isn't it here now? Fuck. Jun Changxiao broke down. I worked so hard to earn 500 reputation points. And I have to spend it on an item that can only be used to bluff? Not only can this item improve your pills, it can also improve your martial arts aura. In the future, if the host encounters a strong powerhouse outside, you can take it out to bluff. Maybe it can scare the other party? The system said. That makes sense. Jun Changxiao fell into a short silence. The system said. 2 years ago, when all the major clans surrounded the sect of all times, your master, Jimren Tonggu, appeared and suppressed the patriarch of the Lingwei True sect to the point that he had difficulty breathing. This is because of his aura. If I wear this reputation equipment, I can obtain the powerful aura of my master? Jun Changxiao's eyes lit up. The system hurriedly said, I'm just guessing. Whether it can achieve that effect or not, we'll only know after using it. Jun Changxiao hesitated for a moment, then gritted his teeth and said, I'll buy it. Ding. The host has spent 500 reputation points and obtained Bluff Suit X1. It has been transferred into the space ring. Ding. Sect contribution points, 500. The advantage of reputation equipment was that it could be purchased with reputation points. Therefore, the broken contribution points system would gradually and gloriously retire from the stage of history. Therefore, please bow 3 times. Chapter 1424. He had bought the bluff suit, but his reputation points had been reset to 0. Sigh. Jun Changxiao sighed. I saved it up with great difficulty and now it's all gone. Compared to the hundreds of thousands of contribution points, a few hundred reputation points were pitifully little. It even made him feel like he was the poorest person in the past. Don't worry. The system comforted him. Reputation goods are better than contribution points goods. The host will definitely not lose out or be cheated. Jun Changxiao rolled his eyes and said, Did you get a kickback again? I never get a kickback. The system's tone was unyielding. It was obvious that it was very confident. Jun Changxiao ignored it and took out the bluff suit with a wave of his hand. This was a garment similar to a robe. The style was quite novel, and it would not look old-fashioned when worn. In fact, whether the clothes were old-fashioned or not depended on the person wearing it. Go Sheng, with his perfect figure and appearance, was completely a walking clothes hanger. No matter what he wore, he looked good. Xiao. His mind entered and established a connection. In an instant, Jun Changxiao's soul seemed to have entered a wonderful world. There were crystal-clear balls floating there, and they emitted different auras. There were martial arts, sword arts, alchemy, and many more. Understood. That's a bluff, Yi Zichen said. Jun Changxiao stopped in front of the ball that represented martial arts. He gently raised his hand and touched it. The outside world suddenly opened its eyes, and a monstrous wave of qi instantly enveloped him. Shua. Shua. In the wilderness, more than 10 martial artists were running. One of them wondered. Strange, I clearly saw that monster running here. Why is there no trace of it? It's already injured. It can't run far. The leader shouted. Search carefully. Big brother. At this moment, a martial artist shouted. There's someone in front. And only then did everyone realize that a man in a robe was standing in the forest with his eyes closed. He seemed to be thinking about something, or maybe he was asleep? Awesome. In a place where monsters often roamed, he actually dared to be absent-minded. Big brother, Judging from this guy's clothes, he seems to be a rich man. Why don't we? A warrior smirked. The cultivator called Big Brother said seriously. This person's aura is not strong. In such a dangerous place, he could be eaten by demonic beasts at any time. Shouldn't we give him some benefits in order to send him out safely? Yes, yes. His subordinate hurriedly echoed. Go. Swoosh. Whoosh. Everyone quickly approached. Right at this moment, the young man who had been standing still all this time suddenly opened his eyes, and an explosive aura instantly surged out from his body. Caw. Everyone stopped abruptly, and their eyes were suffused with astonishment. A terrifying aura suddenly erupted, making them feel as if there were 100,000 mountains on their backs. Oh my god! This was a super expert. Under the powerful aura, everyone's legs did not listen to them. They fell to the ground, paralyzed, and some even wet their pants. Jun Changshao, who had just activated the martial arts special effect of the bluff suit, noticed that there were more than 10 people lying beside him. Hence, he turned around and asked, "What's the matter?" Because of the powerful martial arts aura, just speaking 2 words contained unfathomable profoundness, which shocked the group of cultivators so much that their souls almost flew out of their bodies. Almighty! Great God! No, no! Big Brother suppressed his fear and said with a trembling voice, "Nothing." Oh! Jun Changshao responded, and then continued on his way. He did not know how strong the martial arts aura he released was, but it should be able to scare a group of void-piercing realm cultivators, to the point that they could not stand up. Watching Go Sheng leave, more than 10 cultivators were relieved. Some even covered their faces and cried, obviously too frightened. Right. This suit can change its form at will? On the way, Jun Changshao became interested. So many styles appeared in his mind. After confirming one, the long robe on his body quickly turned black, and then a red cloud pattern appeared. Not handsome enough. Xiao. The bluff turned white again, with the words second-generation leader on the back, and then the words justice. When he walked out of the forest, it turned into a brownish-red short suit with the word Lord on the chest. The system roared. Please, this is not a cosplay suit. The division of the upper realm was similar to the Starfall continent, but it was divided by regions, such as the Southeast region and the Northwest region. The most central region was called the Central region, and it was also the most prosperous region in the whole world. The headquarters of the Realm Hall, Alchemy Hall, and other organizations were mostly set up in the Central region. If Jun Changshao wanted to visit, he would definitely have to walk all the way from the Southeast region to the Central region. The journey was so long that it would take years just by walking. Fortunately, he had the rainbow wings. Although the flying speed was not super fast, its advantage was that it could save energy and reduce emissions, and its endurance was very good. After summoning Jun Changshao, he dragged Flowing Light along with him. In just 2 months, he had entered the Central region. TSK. The heaven and earth attribute here is stronger than the Southeast region. Along the way, not only did he see the magnificent mountains and rivers of the Central region, but he also met many powerful martial artists. Thus he sighed. Every place has its own people. There should be more experts here. What's that? Damn, the light is so beautiful. The martial artists also noticed the colorful stream of light flashing in the sky. They looked up and confirmed that it was a martial artist flying, and it was a pair of colorful wings. Their eyes were filled with jealousy and hatred. The system said, "Host, you're so ostentatious. Be careful of being robbed." "It's done," Jun Changshao said. "I've been healed by you. I'll definitely be safe." The system broke down. As the saying goes, don't show off your wealth. Host, you'll definitely be targeted by people with bad intentions if you fly in the sky so ostentatiously. Tell me more. This will make me safer. Fuck. I'm serious. The scene changed. Jun Changshao landed safely in front of Wushuang City. This was one of the large-scale cities in the Central region, and also the headquarters of the Alchemy Hall. Standing in front of the tall city gate, Go Sheng was speechless. It's so fucking magnificent. The system was silent. He flew over so ostentatiously Yet he wasn't robbed. It was really illogical. Stop. Just as he was about to enter the city, a dignified general blocked his way and shouted, "Anyone who wants to enter Wuxia City must provide proof of identity." There were more rules in big cities, so it was necessary to provide proof of identity. Jun Changshao wasn't a troublemaker. He cooperated and took out his proof of identity as a permanent resident of Lin Yuan City. Not only did Lu Desui give him proof, he also gave it to all the disciples of the sect of all times. It could be said that the entire sect was a legal resident of Lin Yuan City. Sorry, the general said coldly. Residents of low-level cities are not qualified to enter Wuxia City. Jun Changshao smiled and said, "Can you make an exception?" The general still had to check other people's proof of identity along the way. So he waved his hand impatiently and said, "Get lost." "Fuck. You're so arrogant." Whoosh. Jun Changshao stopped pretending and directly took out the pocket-sized ancient warship. He shouted, "Open your eyes and see what this is." Whoosh whoosh. A thick aura instantly burst out. The general was so shocked that he took a step back. When he saw the words carved on it, he blurted out, "Ancient warship." The passers-by who were queuing to enter the city were also shocked. They all looked over until they saw the warship and felt the thick aura. Their expressions gradually turned to shock. You. The general suppressed the shock in his heart and said, "You're the patriarch of the sect of all times?" Heh. The central region also heard of him? Jun Changshao took out the patriarch's token and said proudly, "It's the real deal." If he took out the token first, he would definitely be doubted. After all, one mystical stone could buy a few hundred tokens. But now, he was convinced because the thick aura of the ancient warship couldn't be imitated. So it's Jun Patriarch, sorry for the disrespect. The general's attitude immediately became extremely warm. Jun Changshao said indifferently, "Can you show me how to roll?" "Okay." The general directly fell to the ground and rolled around. Jun Changshao's expression immediately stiffened. He thought to himself, he's actually so skilled. Chapter 1425. After showing him the ancient warship, the general was instantly terrified. Of course, rolling on the ground was not because he had been slapped in the face too many times, but because Jimren Tonggu's identity was too high. Even if he was not familiar with it, he had to force himself to be familiar with it. Sigh. Jun Changshao shook his head. He thought that he could show off to his heart's content after showing his identity, but he did not expect the other party to be so cooperative. "Can I enter the city?" Yes. The general was still rolling on the ground. When he saw the other party enter the city, he quickly stood up and patted the dust off his body. He pointed at the passers-by in the distance and shouted, "Anyone who enters Wuxia City must provide proof of identity." This guy was revived with full health again. Oh my god. That guy is actually Jimren Tonggu's disciple. Everyone started discussing. There were two reasons why the sect of all times gradually rose to fame in the pugilistic world. First, the various clans surrounded Fengqi Celestial Mountain, and second, they destroyed Fuqian Sect. Strange, why is he here in Wuxia City? I heard that Lin Yuan City's ancient elixir store is a subsidiary of the sect of all times. Is he here to visit the elixir hall? Wuxia City was considered one of the famous cities in the upper world. Because of the elixir hall's headquarters, the elixirs and herbs were more developed. It was a top large-scale herb market. After Jun Changshao entered the city, he smelled the strong smell of herbs in the air. So he was not in a hurry to go to the elixir hall's headquarters. He strolled around the city until he saw dazzling materials. He thought to himself, "Before I leave, I can buy some herb seeds." Of course, if his strength allowed it, he could open an elixir store here in the future. The elixir hall's headquarters was located in the East District of Wuxia City. Jun Changshao asked the passers-by, and stopped in front of a magnificent and dazzling mansion. "Who are you?" the guard asked. Jun Changshao put his hands behind his back and said loudly, "Patriarch of the sect of all times, Jun Changshao." A trace of surprise appeared in the guard's eyes. Then, he quickly entered the mansion to report. Not long after, the hall master of the Pill Hall, Bai Zhaoyang, personally led the higher-ups out to welcome them. He cupped his hands and said with a smile, Jun Patriarch's visit has brought light to my humble abode. The identity of Jinren Tonggu's personal disciple was enough to attract the attention of the alchemy hall. Jun Changshao cupped his hands and said a few polite words. Then, he was invited into the hall and placed in a VIP seat. As a professional and authoritative alchemy organization, Gosheng could sense a much richer smell of medicinal herbs the moment he stepped in. This was especially so for the few old men accompanying the guests. Just from their auras alone, he could tell that they were grandmasters in alchemy. If you join my sect, the medicine hall won't have to worry about not being able to grow stronger. Hall Master Bai. Jun Changshao cupped his hands and said, Could these people be the chief alchemists of the Pill Hall? Bai Xiaoyang said, They are elders in charge of daily internal affairs. As for the chief alchemists, they mostly don't live in the Pill Hall unless they have something to discuss. As an organization without any power, their main focus was on alchemy. Even if they became a member, their freedom would not be restricted. I see, Jun Changshao said. Everyone's auras are incomparably dense. You must all be grandmasters of alchemy. An elder smiled and said, Our alchemy standards are not as good as the chief alchemists. Jun Patriarch can completely defeat Du Hongqian, so he can't bear the title of Grandmaster. These words were not only very modest, but they also praised Gosheng. No. Jun Changshao waved his hand and said, I only know a little about alchemy. I'm far from being as proficient as all of you. Truth, there was nothing wrong with it. But the elders present all thought that he was being modest. Jun Patriarch. Bai Xiaoyang smiled and said, May I know why you have come to my realm hall? Jun Changshao said, Your hall's two chief alchemists both hold important positions in my sect. I came to visit in hopes of improving our friendship. Shua. He took out a space ring and said, It's just a small token of my appreciation. Although Jun Changshao's personality was very cheap and mischievous, he was still quite particular in formal situations. After all, he was the master of a sect. This, Bai Xiaoyang still accepted the space ring that contained the medicinal herbs, and said with a smile, This old man has already arranged for the servants to prepare wine and dishes to welcome Jun Patriarch. Then I'll have to trouble you. Jun Changshao was anxious. He had come to the Pill Hall headquarters, but he had not completed the side mission. It seemed that he had to spar with them in alchemy. There was still a while before dinner, so Bai Xiaoyang asked, Jun Patriarch, what level have you reached in alchemy? This, Jun Changshao smiled and said, It's not worth mentioning, not worth mentioning. He did not know the levels of alchemy in the upper realm at all. It was because he did not do enough homework. The system hurriedly explained, Xianjin Dao Immortal. Jun Changshao roared in his heart. What's the difference between this and the level of a sect? There's no choice. The system said, people in the upper realm are lazy. Jun Changshao did not say his level, but Bai Xiaoyang and the rest were certain that this lad must have extremely high attainments in alchemy. Otherwise, he would not have been able to convince two chief alchemists. Jun Patriarch. One of the elders smiled and said, This old man has recently encountered some problems in alchemy. I wonder if you can enlighten me? It's here. The test is here. Jun Changshao broke down in his heart and said, Can't you ask after the meal? Must you force me to reveal my true colors? He could not panic. Gosheng calmed down and said, The path of alchemy is mysterious and unpredictable. The more I study, the more I don't understand, so I'm afraid it's difficult to enlighten you. Everyone nodded in agreement. There was no end to learning alchemy. When one comprehended to a whole new level, there would be a whole new level waiting for them. So no one dared to claim that they had completely understood it. Moreover, Jun Changshao said again, Master often told me that even if I am a master, I must have the heart of an apprentice. As the saying goes, there is a path on the mountain of alchemy with diligence, and the sea of refinement is boundless with hardship. The road is long, and I will explore it from top to bottom. The system said, Blind bragging, I only admire the host. That makes sense. Everyone benefited a lot from this and secretly said in their hearts, This is a real master. No wonder he could convince the arrogant Du Hongqian. Listening to your words is better than studying for 10 years. Bai Xiaoyang cupped his hands and said. Jun Changshao said modestly. We are all in the same line of alchemy. It's just giving each other pointers. In terms of bragging, Gou Xing still had some talent. So once he started talking, he couldn't stop talking. He directly made the higher-ups of the alchemy hall ponder, sometimes come to a realization, and sometimes rejoice. Of course, he couldn't talk too blindly. He had to be more hardcore. So Jun Changshao talked while communicating with the alchemy in his bluff. Every time he talked about a key point, his aura would appear from inside out until it was completely stimulated. The aura of an alchemy grandmaster had already gathered in his body. Bai Xiaoyang and the others were fascinated and didn't notice at first. When they came back to their senses and felt the strong alchemy aura in the hall, their eyes suddenly widened. Oh my god! This aura was too terrifying. Everyone couldn't judge what level Jun Changshao was at from his aura, but they all deeply realized that his understanding of alchemy was definitely much stronger than theirs. Shame! Shame! The elders who wanted to ask about alchemy immediately dismissed the idea. In their opinion, it was blatant disrespect to ask someone because of a small problem. Ding! Side mission completed. Obtained 500,000 contribution points. Ding! Sect contribution points, 650,000. Ding! Congratulations to the host for completing the side mission and triggering the hidden reward. Obtained experience talisman X5. That's it. After hearing the notification, Jun Changshao said with a smile. I was still boasting to my heart's content. Chapter 1426. When Jun Changshao was bragging just now, the upper echelons of the alchemy hall were a little confused. What he said made sense, but it had nothing to do with alchemy. It was a must. Go Leftover didn't understand alchemy in the first place, so he naturally couldn't brag about anything. He could only intentionally say some irrelevant yet thought-provoking words. Since that was the case, why did he complete the epic mission? Because he was bluffing. When Jun Changshao gradually released his alchemy aura, Bai Xiaoyang and the rest were stunned. This was not a master. This was a grandmaster. It was an honor to be able to listen to him talk about alchemy. To put it bluntly, when Jun Changshao released his alchemy aura, even a casual sentence would make one's imagination run wild. They might even think that it contained some profound meaning of alchemy. This just happened to meet the core requirements of discussing alchemy. Third Elder. Bai Xiaoyang sent a voice transmission. Did you remember what Jun Patriarch said just now? I remembered everything. Not a single word left out. Good, good. A smile appeared on Bai Xiaoyang's face. He thought to himself, in the future, I'll engrave it and give a copy to every member of the Alchemy Hall. Maybe they can comprehend something from it. On this day, every word Gou Sheng said was recorded by the Alchemy Hall. It was known as the Dog Monarch Study, using words that had nothing to do with alchemy to successfully fool a group of alchemy masters. This was something only a cheat could do. Only 5 experience talismans? Jun Changshao was still not satisfied with the reward for completing the mission, because there were no more detailed levels for each transition, when to reach the maximum value, and when to trigger the epic mission. He could only rely on experience talismans to level up. Naturally, the more the better. Jun Patriarch. Bai Xiaoyang smiled. The dishes have been prepared. Oh! Jun Changshao replied with a smile. Then he retracted his aura of alchemy and returned to his normal state. Without the support of bluffing, it was completely difficult to see the alchemy aura. So Bai Xiaoyang and the rest exclaimed in their hearts, he can control his aura so freely. As expected of a grandmaster of alchemy, Jun Changshao had successfully created the image of a Pildao grandmaster in front of the pill hall, by relying on his prestige goods to cheat. The power of cheating made people look up to him. Please, please. Jun Changshao sat at the table, because they were worried that they would make a fool of themselves in front of an expert. Bai Xiaoyang, and the higher-ups accompanying the guest, did not talk about alchemy the entire time. The atmosphere was quite harmonious. AI. After 3 rounds of wine, Jun Changshao sighed. Bai Xiaoyang asked in confusion, Why did Jun Patriarch sigh? Jun Changshao said bitterly. Pond Master Bai, you should know that the sect of all times has just ascended from the lower realm, right? Your esteemed sect went against the formation of 10,000 tribulation, heavenly thunder, set up by the realm hall, and successfully led your disciples to immortal ascension. This is something that everyone in the upper world knows. When I heard about it, I was filled with admiration for Jun Patriarch. Bai Xiaoyang said, this wasn't flattery, but rather genuine admiration. It was because since the ancient times until now, there had never been anyone who led a sect into ascension. This type of magnificent feat would definitely be recorded in the annals of history. AI. Jun Changshao smiled bitterly and said, Jun originally thought that he could pursue a higher realm after ascending to the upper realm, but after more than 2 years here, I realized that it's too difficult to establish a foothold here. Yes. Bai Xiaoyang and the higher-ups nodded in understanding. Most of them ascended through alchemy, and all of them had experienced the huge difference of falling from the top to the bottom. To be able to survive in a whole new world system, this process was too difficult. Bai Xiaoyang smiled and said, Jun Patriarch, you don't have to worry. Your esteemed sect will have a place in the upper realm sooner or later. Hall Master Bai must be thinking that my honored master is Jinren Tonggu, so it's natural for me to survive in the upper realm, Jun Changshao said. Bai Xiaoyang smiled awkwardly and politely. Yes, that was what he thought. As one of the top powerhouses in the upper realm, other than those top-notch celestial sects, who dared not give him face. With such a background, it was only a matter of time before the sect of all times became powerful. Jun Changshao said, when honored master took me in as a disciple, he said that I can only rely on myself for the development of the sect. He won't provide any help. Bai Xiaoyang and the higher-ups were speechless. Developing a sect in the upper realm was not a joke. As the honored master, he actually did not provide any help. It was really a little. Senior Tonggu must have made Jun Patriarch understand that in this cruel world, it was better to rely on oneself than on others. A mighty person was indeed a mighty person. He had put in a lot of effort. The extent of his imagination was so exaggerated that even Yi Xingqian, He Wudi, and the Purple King would have to admit defeat. So, Jun Changshao said, Jun began to think about how to develop the sect. After thinking about it, he still decided to buy property first, and then opened a pill store in Linyuan City. Bai Xiaoyang's left eyelid, which had stopped twitching, suddenly twitched wildly again. Could it be that his fortune was coming? One of the higher-ups said. This humble one was fortunate enough to take the pills sold in Jun Patriarch's pill store. The seemingly ordinary profound essence nourishing pill had 10 times the effect. It's really unbelievable. This pill was refined by Feng Guichen. Everyone was stunned. They recognized Feng Guichen's alchemy skills. But how could he refine such a powerful pill? Of course, Jun Changshao said again. There is a difference between the formula of the pill and the ordinary formula. As soon as he said this, everyone immediately understood. It turned out that the pill that was 10 times stronger than the ordinary profound essence nourishing pill did not rely on Feng Guichen's alchemy skills, but the addition of an exclusive formula. Jun Changshao said, Honored Master has always warned Jun that whether it is martial arts or alchemy, the ultimate goal is to benefit the world. That's why I refined this special formula into a pill and sold it to the outside world. The system finally could not take it anymore. He was clearly using it to make money to support the sect, but he actually shamelessly claimed that it would benefit the world. His shamelessness had reached a new high. Jun Patriarch's actions are truly a blessing to the world. Bai Xiaoyang raised his cup and said seriously, This Bai salutes you. I also salute Jun Patriarch. All the higher-ups raised their cups, their eyes filled with admiration. The Realm Hall was not an organization that made profits, but a public welfare organization that focused on research and development. Every time there was a new discovery or result, it would announce it to the public and benefit the entire alchemy community. It was similar to Jun Changzhao's plan, to sell his exclusive pill recipes for the benefit of the world. It was a different approach to achieve the same result. Respect. Respect in all caps. Huh. Jun Changshao drank his wine and said bitterly, "Unfortunately, because of my limited ability, Jun is unable to let more cultivators enjoy the benefits of high-grade pills." "You can open a branch," Bai Xiaoyang said. Hearing this, the system finally understood the host's plan and blurted out, "Holy shit, Anyo!" "Ha!" Jun Changshao sighed and said, "If there are more talents in alchemy." At this point he looked at everyone and said, Jun is confident that he can spread his alchemy shops all over the upper realm and let everyone have access to high-grade pills. My pill hall has talents in alchemy and is willing to assist Jun Patriarch in benefiting the world. Bai Xiaoyang said seriously. The system was speechless. "You've been led into a ditch." "This," Jun Changshao said. "How can I trouble your pill hall?" "Jun Patriarch, you don't have to be so polite," Bai Xiaoyang said. "My pill hall was established to benefit the world. As long as you don't mind, we will do our best to help promote high-grade pills." "That's right." All the higher-ups expressed their support. In that case, Jun Changshao poured wine and said, "How many alchemists are there in the realm hall?" Third-grade alchemists have 26,000, second-grade alchemists 76,000, first-grade alchemists 43,000, and alchemy masters 18,000, Bai Xiaoyang said. First grade, second grade, and alchemy masters were the pill hall's classifications. According to the upper realm standards, even the lowest third-grade alchemists were at the black level. All the major sects would definitely fight for them. Fuck. Jun Changshao said to himself. So many people. If an alchemy shop was managed by an alchemy master, and a few first-grade, second-grade and second-grade alchemists, they could definitely open more than 10,000 branches. The daily profits, no. Jun Changshao held his head and said, "The alcohol is too strong, I'm a little dizzy." After a round of drinking, the sect of all times and the pill hall reached an agreement. Both sides sincerely cooperated to promote high-quality pills in the upper realm. Of course, they definitely had to sign a contract. After all, even blood-related brothers had to settle accounts clearly to prevent any unpleasant things from happening. It was definitely unrealistic to ask the Realm Hall to send people to refine pills voluntarily, so Jun Changshao planned to pay them a salary. Jun Patriarch, Bai Xiaoyang said, "Why don't we calculate it based on commission?" Huh? Jun Changshao was dumbfounded. "Big brother, you're actually taking a commission for something that benefits the world. Isn't this a little too much? Or was it just a fart before? And it was actually just a collaboration to make money together?" Moreover, Bai Xiaoyang said, "I've already inquired about the price of the alchemy shop that your sect opened in Linyuan City. I feel that it's a little low, so I still need to raise it." Hearing this, Jun Changshao was immediately sure that this guy wanted to make money together and share it. Fuck. Why did he feel like he was being tricked? But the truth? Not bad. Go Sheng was tricked by Bai Xiaoyang. To be precise, his left eyelid had been twitching nonstop recently. After being reminded by the higher-ups that fortune was coming, and hearing that the other party wanted to promote pills, he suddenly realized that this was fortune, right? Wasn't this an opportunity? Since you want to benefit the world, and my realm hall cares about the common people, we'll definitely cooperate. Many people thought that Bai Xiaoyang's left eyelid was twitching, and that a disaster was coming. Little did they know that fortune was really coming this time. Only the Taishian elder and Jinren Tonggu, who had bad omens, were really going to be tricked by Go Sheng. Of course. Actually, it couldn't be said who was tricking who. After all, Jun Changshao's side provided high-grade medicinal herbs, and the pill hall provided people to refine pills. Both sides benefited from each other and walked hand in hand towards a win-win situation. Jun Patriarch, please rest assured. Bai Xiaoyang said, "My pill hall will share the corresponding profits according to the people sent out. The majority will still be your sect of all times. We definitely won't be greedy." Jun Changshao broke down. "Can't we just pay a salary?" At this moment, the capitalist's face was completely exposed. He just wanted the pill hall to take a fixed salary. At most, he would just give them some dividends and benefits during festivals. June Patriarch. Bai Xiaoyang said awkwardly. My pill hall's alchemists also have to live and support their families. Just paying a salary is definitely not enough. Unless the monthly salary is at least 10 million. Jun Changshao immediately rolled his eyes and said, if your family's monthly salary is so high, I'll send my disciples to work for you tomorrow. It was originally a good thing to benefit the world. But after the two of them revealed their profiteering faces, the banquet completely turned into bargaining in a vegetable market, fighting for the greatest benefits for themselves. Looking back at the chapter title, the two of them were really Lin Yuan City, in a private room of a luxurious restaurant. Everyone. Yuan Gongzi drank a mouthful of tea and smiled. Do you have any objections to this price? The higher-ups of the family who had been haggled for a few hours were already dizzy at this moment. In the end, they could only compromise and say, no objections. Happy cooperation. Yuan Gongzi cupped his hands and got up to leave the restaurant. Then, he looked up at the sky and secretly said, Patriarch should have reached Wushuang City by now, right? All right. At the pill hall headquarters, Jun Changshao compromised and said, let's do it according to what we said just now. Your realm hall will send people to assist my sect of all times in refining pills. The payment will be based on the number of pills refined. Let's make it clear first. Different levels of pills will definitely have different prices. Ah! Jun Changshao hugged his head and broke down. Hall Master Bai, you're simply wasting your time if you don't do business. Fine. Just you wait. I'll bring old Yuan here, when I have time, and fight 300 rounds with you. Chapter 1427. Jun Changshao and the Alchemy Hall reached an agreement, and both sides established a cooperative relationship. One could provide herbs comparable to heaven and earth treasures, while the other had enough manpower to refine them. This could be considered a strong alliance. If his peers in the Alchemy Hall knew about this, they would probably start trembling in fear. This trip was worth it. Lying on the bed in the highest standard room arranged by the Alchemy Hall, Jun Changshao smiled with satisfaction. Although he lost in bargaining, it did not affect his mood. After all, as long as he had enough profits in the future, it did not matter if he lost a little. He came all the way to the Alchemy Hall for two purposes. One was to complete the side mission, and the other was to talk about cooperation. Now that both were done, it was free time. The next day, Jun Changshao went to the market, intending to buy some herbs and seeds. Bai Xiaoyang also took action. He issued a recall order for members to quickly return to the Alchemy Hall headquarters to discuss important matters. Among them were the 6 chief alchemists who were working part-time outside. It was obvious that the Alchemy Hall still attached great importance to the cooperation with the Sect of all times. In fact, they had all taken and studied the high-quality pills refined by Feng Guichen, and gave them very high ratings. If they could mass produce and put into the market, it would definitely benefit the entire upper realm. Of course, if they could earn some money to support their families while benefiting the world, why not? Jun Changshao was shopping. The elites of the Alchemy Hall were coming from all over the world. Soon there would be a big scene. As for whether he could win over the 6 chief alchemists and gather the 8 of them at the Sect of all times' Alchemy Hall, that would depend on his ability. Night. In a certain city, more than 10 men in black lurked in the dark. Their eyes were fixed on the Jia Hall branch residents. Their killing intent and anger gradually emerged. No rush, no rush. A voice came from the darkest area of the alley. Sooner or later, we'll kill to our heart's content. Yes, everyone whispered, Master. The person who spoke walked out. With the help of the weak moonlight, it could be seen clearly that he was wearing a black robe, revealing a young face of about 12 or 13 years old. That's right. This was Jun Changsha's life and death brother, the tattooed man. After reincarnating and regaining his memory, he began to attack the Jia Hall. Tonight's sneak attack on the branch was the best proof. Time passed slowly. Dark clouds covered the moon, and the entire city fell into absolute darkness. Attack. Swoosh. Shwa. Whoosh. Dozens of streams of light rushed toward the Boundary Hall branch. Boom. Boom. Then an explosive force resounded in the pitch-black city, instantly waking up the sleeping martial artists. They released their spiritual senses and found that the most magnificent mansion had been engulfed in flames. I'll go. Someone has ambushed the World Hall branch. For a time, the entire city was in an uproar. By the time they rushed over, the battle had already ended. The mansion that had been burned down by the fire had already been reduced to ruins. There are words on the wall. Right at this moment, someone exclaimed. Everyone looked at the outer wall of the Jia Hall branch that was still intact. On it were written the words, 10,000 years is too long. Seize every moment. How imposing. However, his handwriting was really ugly. 10,000 years is too long? Seize every minute? Someone read it several times and finally understood. But in exchange, the faces of all the cultivators present changed greatly as they exclaimed in unison. Traitor Gu Zhaoxi. That's not right. Wasn't this guy captured? Why is he here again? I heard that this person has a reincarnation spirit and can be reborn endlessly. Every time he dies, he will become stronger. He suddenly appeared here, destroyed the World Hall branch, and left behind dog-like handwriting. It seems like he wants to tell the world that he's back. Swoosh. Right at this moment, a black shadow rushed out from the dark and pressed the last person who spoke to the ground. He said coldly, "My handwriting is art. How dare you describe it as dog-like handwriting?" Swoosh. Swoosh. His subordinates hurriedly flew out from the dark and forcibly took their boss away. They roared in their hearts. How many times has he been reborn? Why is Master's handwriting still so bad? Some people were strong in some aspects but weak in others. For example, Go Sheng. Once he opened his mouth, he would kill people. The tattooed man also had a shortcoming. No matter how many times he was reborn, his handwriting was still unsightly. Moreover, this guy did not know his own limits. When he fought against the World Hall, he always liked to leave behind a message with his bad handwriting. The news that a branch in a certain city had been destroyed quickly spread to the headquarters of the World Hall. It immediately ignited the anger of the higher-ups. As expected, an elder gritted his teeth and said, "As long as this guy is reborn, he will definitely cause trouble for us. Inform the branches in each city as soon as possible, and have them increase their vigilance. Once they find out about the traitor, they must report it to the headquarters as soon as possible." The dignified elder sitting at the head of the table ordered. "Report. Empress Lingyao is here to see you." The higher-ups who were having a headache over the traitor were puzzled. Why is this woman here again? Previously, when they went to the extreme cave abode to find Jinren Tonggu to ask for an explanation, they ended up with the sect of all times destroying the Fuqian sect. This made them quite unhappy. However, they could not say anything about it. After all, Pei Sili had given them the location of the mine and secretly told the Lingwei True sect about it. "Let her in," the dignified elder said. Before long, Empress Lingyao, who was surrounded by clouds, walked into the main hall and said, "I am willing to volunteer to hunt down the traitor Gu Zhaoxi." Oh, the higher-ups were surprised. Even though this woman had a position in the realm hall, she was not sociable and did not care about anything. But now, she went to find Jinren Tonggu, and now she wanted to capture the traitor. This was quite strange. Of course, Empress Lingyao said, "I have a condition." "What condition?" "Recently, I lack resources for cultivating martial path. If we capture the traitor Gu Zhaoxi, I hope the realm hall will reward us accordingly." Everyone heard this and understood. No wonder this woman had been so active recently. She lacked resources for cultivating martial path. "Do you have confidence in capturing that guy?" the dignified elder asked. Empress Lingyao said, "Back then, the realm hall sent a large number of experts and spent hundreds of years to capture him. I am not completely confident, but I can at least give it a try." "All right," the dignified elder agreed. The realm hall had been quite busy recently. They were lacking manpower. And this woman had rank 9 cultivation level. As long as they found the traitor's hiding place, it should not be a problem to capture him. Empress Lingyao said, "If we capture Gu Zhaoxi, I will give you 10 million immortal stones." Saying so, She did not wait for the dignified elder's agreement and left the hall. She came in a hurry and left in a hurry. Is this woman so poor that she has gone crazy? Someone said angrily. She actually asked for 10 million immortal stones to capture a traitor. Umph. A higher-up snorted. Does she think she is someone important? The dignified elder was silent for a while before saying, Go ask Jean how his injuries are. If he is fine, let him cooperate with Empress Lingyao to capture the traitor Gu Zhaoxi. Yes. Boom. Boom. Somewhere in the wilderness, the tattooed man frantically bombarded the enchantment that bound him. When he couldn't break it, he angrily raised his head and said, I didn't expect you to have learned the long-lost inescapable net seal. So, Empress Lingyao said, You can't escape. After this woman agreed to capture the traitor, she only used a few days to find him. She even used a divine ability to seal him, making it difficult for him to escape. This was quite surprising. Swoosh. The tattooed man sat on the ground saying, Kill me or torture me, do as you wish. With the reincarnation spirit, he did not fear death. At most, he would be a good man again after 10 years. I won't kill you. What, you want to torture me? No, this empress wants to talk business with you. Business. Chapter 1428. Jun Changshao was not in a hurry to return to the sect. Instead, he stayed at the headquarters of the alchemy hall. Since the food was good, he would try his best to eat and drink. During this period of time, he visited all the shops in the market and bought many seeds. Among them were not only for refining the vitality enhancement pill, but also other types. The nourishing soil could quickly nurture medicinal herbs. Naturally, he would not stop at ordinary types. He would definitely refine stronger pills in the future, so he had to enrich the medicinal herbs. It was said that Jun Changshao was a hands-off shopkeeper. However, they did not know that he had been working hard for the sect ever since he came to the upper realm. He had never slacked off. Hall Master Bai. One day, Jun Changshao took a sip of tea and said, Why aren't they here yet? No rush, no rush. Bai Zhaoyang smiled and said, They're on the way. They'll be here soon. Oh, Jun Changshao responded. Since he had nothing to do, he continued to stroll around Wushuang City. However, as soon as he entered a tea house, he heard people discussing the recent happenings in Jianghu. Have you heard? The traitor Gu Zhaoxi has appeared again. The guy who was chased by the Jia Hall for hundreds of years before they finally captured him. Yes, that's him. Hearing the word traitor, Jun Changshao immediately thought of his brother, who died protecting him in the Starry Sky Fortress. His eyes were filled with melancholy and sadness. Other than those outside the sect, there were not many people who could make Go Sheng remember in his life. The tattooed man who was eager to die was definitely one of them. Brother, Jun Changshao thought to himself, are you alive? He had saved him from death. This was a great favor. If they could meet in the upper realm, he would definitely repay him. I heard that this traitor has a reincarnation spirit. As long as he dies, he will be reborn. It's not just reborn. He becomes stronger every time he dies. What a monster. TSK. He destroyed a branch of the Jia Hall this time. I'm afraid there will be a good show in the future. While everyone was discussing, Jun Changshao's expression changed from dull to ecstatic. Traitor. Reincarnation spirit. Combining these 2 points, the intelligent Jun Changshao was immediately sure that this person was his life and death brother. Fuck. So his name was Gu Zhaoxi. I fucking thought your name was Gu Wang. The Jia Hall definitely won't let the matter rest after destroying a branch. I'm afraid that he's now wanted by the entire world. I heard that the World Hall sent Empress Ling Yao to capture Gu Zhaoxi, and even after several hours of fighting, he still managed to escape. When Jun Changshao heard this, he was overjoyed and said, My brother is so awesome after dying once. It's actually not weak. In fact, Gu Zhaoxi and Empress Ling Yao had only exchanged a few blows when he was trapped by the inescapable net. As for why he had managed to escape, no one knew. No, Jun Changshao thought. I have to find him as soon as possible. Traitors were definitely poisonous in the upper realm. No one was willing to have anything to do with them. After all, they were at odds with the realm hall. However, Gosheng did not care, because he was my brother. TSK. The system said, you just want to trick him into joining the sect. Do you have to create a loyal and righteous persona? With news of his brother, Jun Changshao could no longer sit still. However, the 6 chief alchemists had yet to arrive, so he could only continue to wait at the alchemy hall headquarters. Of course, during this period, he would often wander around the tea houses and restaurants to obtain the latest news. He gradually found out that Gu Zhaoxi had made his move and destroyed a few branches of the realm hall. This feels great. Jun Changshao laughed. When he was in the lower realm, he was already unhappy with the realm hall. The more Gu Zhaoxi targeted this organization, the happier he was. He even wished that the two of them could join forces. To put it bluntly, this guy also had the heart of a traitor, because their strength did not allow them to do so, and because the sect needed to develop steadily, they could only keep a low profile. In the future, if they were strong enough, it would be normal for them to fall out with the realm hall and become enemies. In that case, Empress Lingyao's prediction was spot on. However, the most serious consequence of going against the realm hall was to alert the 10 immortal sections. He did not know if Jimren Tonggu could handle it. A few more days passed. The 6 chief alchemists finally arrived. Jun has long heard that the chief alchemists of the alchemy hall are all dragons among men in the field of alchemy. I am fortunate to meet you today. You really live up to your reputation. Jun Changshao cupped his hands and said, Jun Patriarch is too kind. The 6 chief alchemists cupped their hands and said, because they knew that Go Sheng's master was Jimren Tonggu, and that he was going to work with the alchemy hall. They were very polite. 6. Jun Changshao went straight to the point. Are you interested in working for the sect of all times? Bai Zhaoyang and the higher-ups almost fell off their chairs. 2 of the chief alchemists of the alchemy hall had already been recruited by him. Was he still not satisfied and wanted to pull in the other 6? Jun Patriarch. That was a little too much. Not a little, but rather too much. If the major sects could find a chief alchemist to work in the sect, they would want to set off firecrackers to celebrate. Gathering all 8 bosses in the sect was definitely something that they did not dare to think about. Not only did Jun Changshao dare to think about things that others did not dare to think about, he even dared to take action. This was the boldness of a sect master. The chief alchemist named Chen Xiao smiled and said, I am already an honorary elder in the Spirit Fusion Dao sect. The other 5 chief alchemists also tactfully expressed their rejection. Of the 8 top grandmasters of the alchemy hall, other than Feng Gui Chen and Du Hong Chen, they had all been roped in by the major sects, so they would not choose anyone else. It was fine. As long as they danced well, there was no corner that they could not poach. Jun Changshao smiled and said, as far as I know, the 6 of you are all working in the major sects with honorary titles. There doesn't seem to be anything wrong with joining my sect of all times, right? Jun Patriarch. Chen Xiao said, everyone has their own aspirations, we can't force them. That's right. Jun Changshao agreed. Everyone has their own aspirations, we can't force them. But have the 6 of you heard that a fine bird chooses a tree to nest in? Damn it. If I don't pull you into the sect in one chapter, my former sect master's surname will be written backwards. Chen Xiao and the other chief alchemists looked at each other, an awkward but polite smile appearing on their faces. Jun Changshao's master was Jimren Tonggu, and they respected him from the bottom of their hearts. But since they had already reached an agreement with the other sects, how could they switch to the sect of all times? Jun Patriarch. Bai Zhaoyang smiled and said, let's get down to business. This is business, Jun Changshao said. The other alchemy grandmasters in the alchemy hall could be used for cooperation, but the 6 chief alchemists had to be won over, because they were core technical talents. Moreover, the 8 chief alchemists had all become the hall masters of the alchemy hall of the sect of all times. If the news spread, it would definitely cause a sensation in the upper realm. Perhaps it could increase their reputation and gain a lot of reputation points. Go Sheng had tasted the sweetness of destroying the Fuqian sect, and also found some rules. Therefore, Recruiting 1 was recruiting, recruiting 8 was also recruiting. If he wanted to play, he would play big. Bai Xiaoyang was a little embarrassed. Of course, Jun Changshao added. The 6 of you can work part-time in the sect of all times as honorary elders or hall masters. The 6 of them were at a loss. In the end, they could only look at Bai Xiaoyang for help. Hall master, we really don't want to join the sect of all times. Quickly come and help us out. Bai Xiaoyang gave a I understand look, and then said, Jun Patriarch, in my opinion. Hall master Bai. Jun Changshao interrupted him and said, as long as the 6 chief alchemists are willing to join the sect of all times, the ratio of the sales of the pills can be discussed again. 6. Bai Xiaoyang said seriously, I think you can consider Jun Patriarch's recruitment. After all, he has already shown enough sincerity. Chapter 1429. Jun Changshao was determined to recruit the 6 chief alchemists, so he would rather give some profits to the alchemy hall. Bai Xiaoyang immediately changed his mind. From helping his own people to helping others, his shamelessness was comparable to Go Sheng's. Of course. Otherwise, why would he be able to lower the price? Seeing the hall master change his mind, because of the other party's words, the 6 chief alchemists collapsed. Hall master, where is your bottom line? Jun Patriarch is so sincere, can you bear to reject him? He is Senior Tong Gu's direct disciple. To be able to work in his sect is definitely something that brings glory to our ancestors. If not for this old man's age, as long as Jun Patriarch wants to recruit me, I will definitely do my best to help. The higher-ups of the alchemy hall also joined in the persuasion. They were a group of shameless old men. During this period, they had already done all kinds of calculations. And the final conclusion was that if the 2 parties cooperated to spread their alchemy stores throughout the major cities, the profits would definitely be huge. Now that Jun Patriarch had given in, even if it was just a little bit, it would still benefit the alchemy hall. As long as they could benefit the common people, what did it matter if they joined the sect of all times? Not to mention, it was not a fire pit for them to jump into. Chen Xiao and the others fell into silence again. Since the hall master and the higher-ups had said so, if they did not give them face, they would feel bad. The alchemy hall's motto was freedom, and they would not force their members to do things they were unwilling to do. But in this system, they naturally could not be too stubborn. How about this? Jun Changshao said, the 6 of you can stay in the sect of all times for a month. If there is anything you are not satisfied with, you can leave at any time. Jun will definitely not stop you. Since he had already said so, if they insisted on refusing, it would be a bit unreasonable. Okay, Chen Xiao said. Then we will go to Jun Patriarch's sect and stay for a month. He did not completely say that he was dead, obviously leaving a way out for himself, in case the other party latched onto him. Latched onto him? If Go Sheng knew, he would definitely laugh. Once you enter the sect of all times, regardless of whether you are staying temporarily or permanently, if you have any intention of leaving, I will immediately step down from my position as patriarch. After using the Eternal Tablet's magically modified hair growth agent, he was that confident. Seeing that the 6 chief alchemists had agreed, Bai Xiaoyang smiled and said, Jun Patriarch, how do you think we should discuss the distribution ratio? There's no rush, Jun Changshao said. Let's wait for the 6 of you to stay in my sect for a month. Bai Xiaoyang understood. They were waiting for Chen Xiao and the others to express their stance a month later, before deciding how much they would give up. Wrong. Jun Changshao was actually thinking, let's put aside the matter of profits for now, and wait for old Yuan to come over, and have a good discussion with him. Sect of all times. After checking the total amount of medicinal herbs and seeds sent by the various clans, Li Qingyang exclaimed, Young Master Yuan, you're really good at bargaining. You're getting cheaper and cheaper each time. If this continues for a few more months, won't they have to pay for it? Yuan Feng, who was in Lin Yuan City, sat in the hall and took a sip of tea. He said, being invincible is so lonely. The 6 chief alchemists returned to the Pill Hall headquarters first. The alchemy masters, first, second, and third grade alchemists also entered Wuxia City one after another. This caused a heated discussion among the residents of the city. Strange. Why are they all back? Even the internal alchemy competition held every few years doesn't have so many people participating. Could it be something important? A few days later, the Pill Hall suddenly announced to the public that they had signed a strategic cooperation agreement with the Sect of all times. When this news spread, it could be said that it was like a stone that caused 1,000 ripples. It immediately caused all the martial artists to fight over it. This is incredible. This Sect of all times can actually establish a cooperative relationship with the Pill Hall. The Pill Hall focuses on alchemy. Both sides have reached an agreement. Could it be that they are going to sell herbs or pills together? Just as everyone was in heated discussion, the Sect of all times and the Pill Hall had already started to move. One started to prepare treasure-level herbs, while the other started to dispatch alchemy experts to the Aeon Celestial Mountain. The 6 chief alchemists followed Jun Changxiao back to the Sect of all times first. They decided to stay there for a month before deciding whether to take up a post. A month. It was just a gesture. The Realm Hall had also heard about the cooperation between the Sect of all times and the Pill Hall, so they specially brought it up for discussion during the regular meeting. How did this kid get attached to the Pill Hall again? The word attached was used exquisitely. In fact, Jun Changxiao being able to cooperate with an authoritative alchemy organization had indeed greatly increased the Sect's reputation and influence. However, it was still a cooperation. Although it caused a heated discussion in the upper realm, it didn't trigger any reputation rewards. Who cares? One of the higher-ups said. As long as he doesn't cause any trouble, it's fine. Jun Changxiao had been unhappy with the Realm Hall for a long time, and the Realm Hall had been unhappy with him for a long time as well. Thus, they had been keeping an eye on the former to prevent him from getting any dirt on them. This kid only has Jinren Tonggu behind him. He might not be able to do much in the future. Right now, we should think of a way to get rid of Buried Moon Pavilion and Gu Zhaoxi as soon as possible, said one of the higher-ups. Someone said coldly. She clearly found that traitor, but she actually let him escape. Empress Ling Yao's work is really worrisome. All the higher-ups nodded in agreement. Back then, the Realm Hall had only succeeded in capturing Gu Zhaoxi after a few hundred years. After failing once, they started to ridicule him. This group of old fellows was also shameless. What about Jin Hao? His injuries haven't healed yet. He hasn't healed after 2 years in the muscle regeneration pool. I heard that his injuries were very serious. There's a hole in his heart. What kind of divine ability did this Jun Changxiao use to injure a 9th transformation stage cultivator so easily? Maybe it's some kind of high-grade treasure that Jinren Tonggu gave him. The moment these words were said, everyone was enlightened. If Jinren Tonggu knew about this, he would definitely break down and say, "You can think of it however you want, but can you not drag me into it?" Gurgle gurgle. In a pool surrounded by clouds and mist, the water inside seemed to be boiling. Jin Hao's head was exposed. His face was pale, and he looked like he was in great pain. At this moment, the boundless vitality in the water was nourishing the rice-sized wound on his chest until it was completely healed. Then he suddenly opened his eyes and said with killing intent, "Jun Changxiao, I will make you pay a painful price." It was a miracle that he survived the lightning rod's attack. Now that he had recovered, he naturally would not forget the grudge between him and Jun Changxiao. In fact, it had evolved to the point where he would not rest until one of them was dead. "Young master," an old servant walked over and said, "Jia Hall sent a message earlier, asking you to assist Empress Ling Yao in finding the traitor Gu Zhaoxi." "Gu Zhaoxi?" Jin Hao said in surprise. "This guy reincarnated again." The old servant said, "Recently, he destroyed 3 Jia Hall branches." "Assist Empress Ling Yao?" Jin Hao said. "Could it be that Jia Hall can mobilize this woman?" The old servant said, "I heard that she volunteered to capture Gu Zhaoxi." "Oh." Jin Hao walked out of the pool and used his true ability to wash off the water on his body. He put on the clothes he had prepared and said with interest, This woman is probably plotting something. Young master, the old servant transmitted. Master sent a secret letter. Saying so, he handed over a letter with a crescent moon engraved on it. Jin Hao took it and opened it. He used fire to burn the letter and said, "Go back and tell Jia Hall that my injuries have healed, and I will assist Empress Ling Yao in capturing Gu Zhaoxi." Yes. The old servant hurriedly left. Fastening his belt, Jin Hao thought to himself, Master probably can't hold it in this time, and is about to make a move against Jia Hall, which represents the 10 great celestial sections. I wonder if the forces behind Empress Ling Yao have such plans. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.